We are definitely live. What's up, what's up, what's up, folks? My name is Nico Rubio of Shuffle Life Productions, and welcome to the Real Talk Tap Talks, episode 15. This is our last episode for our Black History Month series that we've been doing the past 4 Fridays. This is the fourth one, and I'm really excited about this one. We've been interviewing Chicago cats, Chicago tap dancers specifically, and today actually have my original first guest of the podcast. We did the first episode back in May 25th. National Tap Dance Day, Bill Robinson's birthday in 2019. And that never ended up airing. So we finally have the first guest on the 15th
That's cool.
episode, Mr. Jimmy Payne Jr. So welcome him to the episode, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you, Nico. Nico. I want
Yeah.
to say
First
one
guest of
thing before we start. I'm get started. I'm very excited, about being here because I do feel like I have a story to tell, and also that my dad's story is worthy of telling. And I also like to let you know that at Columbia College, we do
Oh
a
man.
tap essay. We do a tap essay, and it's comparing and contrasting, three tap dancers. Each semester, I use yourself. I use Gregory Hines and Fred Astaire because those are very distinctive styles of tap dance. So yeah, I do appreciate you having me. Yeah, and I appreciate you as being a great dancer. Thank you.
Man, yeah, so much love to that. So I love that you kicked it off that way because, for anyone who's new to the show or otherwise, if I think you can maybe tell I'm interviewing, people that we're homies. Even if it's not somebody I talk to all the time. And when I was going to Columbia College is when I not when I met Jimmy Payne, but like when we kind of developed a more one-on-one relationship. And this essay that he's talking about is a trip because I can't remember if I found out from you or somebody else, but I was in school at
Uh-huh.
Columbia and I find out that, while I'm learning what I'm learning, there are students writing essays about me. And that
Yes,
just felt, so
most
honorable. And
definitely, Nico. Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
That's cool. Thanks for having me.
yeah, yeah. So how you doing today? How you been so
I,
far in
I'm I'm
quarantine?
good, man. Just like very excited, man. The last 3 hours have kind of been a trip. Yeah,
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 yep.
man. Yeah. So it's I think this is a great platform, for yeah, tap dancers like myself to tell their story, and to add to add to their story, for people who don't know. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll dive on in like right before we do. Also, I want to say, like I already said, I'm highlighting Chicago tap dancers specifically,
Mhm.
but over the past few weeks, and even beyond then, I feel like I'm collecting so much information, even that I didn't know, even as an archaeologist of all this stuff myself. I'm learning more and more. So a lot of what for those who have been tuned in, a lot of what we've been covering, we're going to be covering even more right now.
Mhm.
So you have your own history, but of course you have a lineage like we found with everyone, whether it's through your teachers or your actual family. So your father was huge, not just in Chicago, but in New York and period. So if you kind of want to do a combination of giving us your origin story as well as speaking about him.
That's cool. That's cool. So, of course, I have to start with my dad. If I'm talking about my lineage and my tap lineage. My dad was born in 1905, and he was born in the Panama Canal Zone. So his dad worked on the Panama Canal Zone. His dad was from Barbados, and his mother was from Cuba. Uh, he lived in Panama for a while. He moved to Barbados, and then he moved to Cuba. And in about 1921 or 22, he moved to New York. Yeah, so he moved to New York, and of course, tap was really taking off, in the 20s, in the 30s. My dad always wanted to dance. His dad was a dancer. and his dad was a reverend, a reverend of sort, uh, where he was a minister, and he ministered in Cuba, Panama, and then he also did it in the States, So they came here like 1922. My dad took a few lessons, and he came upon a man, Billy Pierce. So Billy Pierce
Mhm.
had a studio, one of the biggest studios. I'm not even sure if it was the biggest. I think I heard it was the biggest. And I have to
Yeah.
do my research on that. But one of the biggest studios in the country at that time, where this studio wasn't set up like most studios today. They have people that just want to go, and enjoy a tap of ballet or whatever. But this studio was specifically set up for people who were doing stage and screen work. So
Mm.
at that studio, there was a teacher named Buddy Bradley. So Buddy Bradley was born in the same year as my dad, maybe a year later. I'm sorry. It was around 1905, but my dad and him became very good friends. And Buddy Bradley was also the teacher of Fred Astaire. Uh, he was also the teacher of Henry Latang, and of course that's Gregory Hines' teacher. So he
Mhm.
had a set of routines, that he gave my dad, and my dad pretty much branched out from there. Buddy Bradley went to Europe, and of course that's a whole different story. Uh, so my dad became pretty big in New York, where he opened his own dance studio, and he opened his own dance studio on Broadway. Uh, his mom and his dad, they supported him. He had four siblings, in New York, and he pretty much made his way, and he made a big name for himself in New York doing tap dance, and not only tap dance, but African dance and Afro-Caribbean dance. So my dad was one of the first, to actually put Afro-Caribbean dance, I guess, in on stage, in a setting like that, like on the map. My dad was one of the first to do that.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. I mean, so I feel like being that I kind of I'm a little brushed up on the history, a little something since we've been talking off air leading up to this, but it's so interesting that your father learned from Buddy Bradley as well as so many other people. But did he learn in New York? It was in New York where.
Yes, my dad learned it in New York. Uh, well, what's so interesting, I still see those routines from Buddy Bradley around. Yeah, of course, Henry Latane carried them on. And when I see the
Mm,
Hines brothers, uh, I
mm,
mean, you can see the work, it's the same work that my dad had, Henry Latane, and several other people that actually came from Buddy Bradley. And Buddy Bradley wasn't like really like a hoofer, and killed it on the floor, but he knew how to put things together, and he had he just had some great tap routines,
yeah.
that and the people he taught, they branched out, and he had some great work.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting also that you say that he taught Fred Astaire,
Yes.
because you know how John Bubbles, it was rumored to be his teacher, and then I feel like that's been confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these footage nights that we host also through this platform through Shuffle Life. And just the other day we had a John Bubbles moment in our night where we were honoring different folks, and just brought that up. John Bubbles with teaching Fred Astaire, but to know that Buddy Bradley also taught him is super interesting.
Well, years ago, I looked at some pictures of Buddy Bradley, and I'm not sure who had him, where I saw him, but I was looking at the poses, and I didn't see him dance, but I mean, you could see Fred Astaire all in him. Yeah, Buddy Bradley
Mm,
was known for his style. Yeah,
so crazy.
yeah, he was known for his style, and of course, you could see him. I mean, if you all research, look up pictures of Buddy Bradley and look at Fred Astaire. Yeah, yeah, and I mean,
Such a trip.
he had a great style, but Buddy Bradley, I mean, did actually teach Fred Astaire, and actually his sister was there also. Adele is there uh, at that
Mm.
school. that my dad studied with both of them at the same time. So Buddy Bradley taught my dad and Fred Astaire. I mean, that was in the same time. Yeah, well, my
Right.
dad knew them.
Yeah. And you mentioned that your father did study other styles as well besides tap.
Well, my grandfather, Joseph Payne, he did African dance. And as I told you, he was also a minister. And uh, with my dad, he describes in an interview how he first learned to dance. He would stand on the soles of his mother's feet, and of course, she was from Cuba, and of course that's African dance.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad came to the States and saw great opportunities to actually put this on stage, and I think I sent you a flyer where he performs in Times Square in 1944, and it's called Afro
Mm-hmm.
Capers. So that was in 1944. That was Black dance was just really being put on a stage and before people and in a dignified way. So that's
Do you
also my.
see
Go
do you
ahead.
see it right now?
I don't see it. It just says you
Okay.
started the screen sharing, but.
All right, let me try it again.
Mhm.
So, folks, we're trying something new this time. I haven't been doing this, just because you never know what might pop up. Let me try it once more. Um, can you
Yeah,
see it
that's
now?
it. I see it.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
it
so that's
just
Afro
that image, or
Capers.
it's the whole?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was Afro Capers, and this was in 19, I think 44, before my dad left New York. But he was putting African dance on the stage. Yeah, so that was it was very important, in dance history.
Right. Okay, now I can see it on okay
Hmm.
on YouTube. YouTube, there's a delay, so I was just making sure before I
Hmm.
went to the next thing. But yeah, this is cool. Yeah, so we see Jimmy Payne right here.
Hmm.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm assuming he didn't go by Jimmy Payne Senior until he had you.
Of course. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
nice. I'm gonna pull up a picture of him real quick, just
Hmm.
so folks can see. Uh, just bear with me as like I'm doing this one at a time, kind of. Uh, but yeah, I think it's cool now to add in some of these pictures every now and then.
Hmm.
Sorry,
No, it's
figuring
all
out
good.
the flow of this. I think I have to like close all of them first. What's
Okay,
interesting is like as tech savvy as I can be, things still do what they do.
of course.
Okay, let's see. Let's try this again. Okay, I feel like now you can see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so this was a picture in Chicago, and this was my dad left New York in 1946. But a few things I want to talk about, what he did in New York. He was I researched an article, and it was a reference to him hosting the Brooklyn Apollo, and the article, it made reference to him having a studio on Broadway, packing him in at a studio on Broadway, and Broadway, the theater district. So yeah, he was quite a dancer in New York, and he was quite a trailblazer, in tap and African dance in New York. Another article that I looked up, I didn't send you this one, but it talks about him doing a show. What was it? It was called Policy Kings, and in that
Mhm.
show, the musical director was James P. Johnson, and James P. Johnson is one of the founders of jazz music. He's one of the that's the father of jazz music, James P. Johnson. And my dad did the choreography. So he did over a dozen shows on Broadway. So this is between the first article I got from of my dad is like 1932, and it goes on to 46. So between 32 and 46, he did a lot, for dance in New York, and yeah,
And
just the
you said
world.
he was born in, did you say he was born in 1905 or something
Yes, he
like
was
that?
born in 1905.
So he was like still in his 20s when he started doing
Yes,
this.
yes,
Yeah.
most definitely. And my dad started late. Actually, he started late, and he he just caught on, and he knew how to put things together, and he was just of course, it's not just our technical skills, but it's our personalities that get us places. And my dad had just amazing personality, where people liked him, So
Yeah.
and he loved people too. So that's that got him a long way, Also, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean the photos that I've seen, when he's playing in that one, of course he looks serious, but in other ones, I'll pull this one up real quick. I feel
mhm.
like I see a good
Okay.
amount of him smiling and all that.
Oh yeah. So this one is here. This is Louis Belson on the left, and then you have Pearl Bailey,
Right here.
and then you have Little Miss Cornshucks, and I looked her up.
Mm.
I know she was an actress, and then of course you have my dad, and this was at Club de Lisa in Chicago, and this was in 1947. So this was a year after my dad came to Chicago. So that's
Mm.
that's a classic picture. Yeah, that's a classic picture. But he did shows at Club de Lisa, and of course now we're talking about Chicago. Uh,
Hmm.
when my dad first came, he actually came for the what was it? Oh my God, I should have had this written down. The
Hmm.
World's Fair. The World's Fair. I should have the year written down, but it was in the 30s. And he
Yeah.
said that he liked Chicago. He's performing for the World's Fair, and he liked Chicago. And he came back in 1946, and he did a show at the Blue Angel nightclub. Yeah, the Blue Angel nightclub,
Hmm.
very famous club. Back in the day, of course, Chicago had the nightlife, and at that time, he developed a group. A group of individuals that are just amazing. In the group, you have Nichelle Nichols. Nichelle Nichols is the black lady from Star Trek. She was a
Mm.
dancer. So she was in that
Right.
group. She danced with my dad at the Blue Angel. Uh, you had
Wow.
Camille Yarbrough. Uh, she wrote the book Cornrows. Very famous. She always has a. I hear her. She was a recording artist, a singer. As a matter of fact, some people say she was the first Lauryn Hill. Look it up, Lauryn Hill.
Mm.
Yeah, Camille
Right.
Yarbrough. Yeah, she was.
Right.
She's still living today. She's like 85, and I'm in contact with her. But she also studied with Catherine Dunham. But she danced with my dad. You also had Irving Berge. Now, Irving Berge was the guy, and he used to play drums and sing in my dad's group. And my dad really encouraged him to get started. But he was the guy that wrote Dale. Yeah,
Hmm.
Dale. Yeah, like over a million seller or something like that. Uh, who else? Ella Jenkins. The
Hmm.
songstress in Chicago.
Yeah.
She was also in the group, and he started her. So many people in Chicago. When my dad came to Chicago, he was he was like an outlet for getting them out there. He just had that personality, and he knew how to organize stuff. And he was a really good dancer. He knew where to put things, and make things and people work. You know.
I mean, it makes sense that he learned from Buddy Bradley, who also taught Henry Latang. Like considering all that Henry Latang did, not just in terms of just dancing, choreography, and playing piano, but like you know, really conducting folks and like putting people in the right place and really being able to
Yes.
see the big picture and not just from our side, but from the audience's perspective. So
Isn't that deep? Well, my dad, he always stressed to me and my siblings, you have to learn how to work with people.
right.
It's no way to get around it. You have to learn how to, work with people. That's what a choreographer does. They put things, in place. for the betterment, of the show, or I'm just saying just life. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So,
that's
so not to cut you off, but just to
mhm.
clarify, all these people you were talking about, were they people who he had a part of his group at the Blue Angels nightclub,
Yes,
or
yes, all
was he
these
just
people.
hiring? Was he
I
hiring
have
talent? Period.
Yeah,
Oh no, go ahead.
so this is I have a flyer with, Camille Yarbrough on it, uh and Grace Nichols, that was a lady from Star Trek, and
Hmm.
articles from Irving Berge, and I even actually have a letter he wrote to my dad, a long letter. I have this letter where he just thanked him for what he did, and my dad always told me what he did for him. He was just he could just hook people up with different things. And yeah, but these people, getting back to what you're saying, these people
Yeah.
were actually in his group and actually performed with them. Like Ella Jenkins, I think Ella Jenkins is like 97 right now. Uh yeah, but she does quite a few things. But as a matter of fact, uh he's on a record of hers like in the 1950s, but he was very instrumental in her life, and he like put her on the stage and he encouraged her to do what she's doing until this day.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's cool to hear this history of people getting connected at the Blue Angels Club. I'm finding out about all these different nightclubs in Chicago, and it's all been very interesting to me as it is to people who kind of follow this lineage of not just people but venues. And
Hmm.
we know as entertainers what it's like when there's a particular essence you feel in a dance studio or in a theater or in a nightclub or just a place where we do what we do. And
Uh-huh.
I've been fascinated with the Cotton Club since I got connected to Tap, but even more now, I'm, of course, as somebody from Chicago, I'm really intrigued by our history of nightclubs and our scene here.
Thank you.
So
Hmm.
I just want to ask, in case were the Club de Lisa and the Blue Angels nightclub, were they open at the same time?
They were open at the same time, but one was on the north side, like in the area of Rush. Yeah, Rush Street, and
Mm.
it had to be like around Division, because that was that district at the same time. And one was on the south side.
And the
Yeah,
Club de
and one
Lisa
was
was
on
on the
Club de
south side.
Lisa was on the
Yeah.
south side. Yeah, but I
Hmm.
mean there was a very big nightclub scene, and there was there were so many opportunities for entertainers,
Yeah.
dancers, and the nightlife was big in Chicago,
Mm.
during that time, and of course that was the 40s and the 50s,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think
and I'm
also
sure
my
the 30s too, and it could have been the 20s, but my dad came here in the 40s. Yeah, yeah.
right, right. Yeah, I'm also intrigued um, for the potential of where things could go. I mean, we're still in COVID times right now,
Hmm.
but still, like, to see where we could potentially go. Like, I don't know. You know, I don't
Well,
know. I don't share this all the time, but like one of my goals is to open up a venue, and I think it would be interesting to not just for that, but anything that where we could have a home or multiple homes like they once had.
most definitely. Well, live entertainment is where it's at. I mean, I don't care how much we go over, on a Zoom, or even
Right.
when we're teaching, now at Columbia, we're teaching through Zoom and in the classroom, and of course we're adapting, but at the same time, I'm just saying, to see that live and to actually have a venue, or to actually have studio place, a space where people are coming into. Yeah, that's what we're striving to get back to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is all well and good, but I mean, also to mention, like I did before for anyone who wasn't with us, Jimmy Payne here was my first guest when I started this podcast with like a pilot episode that I never released. And we did that in person. This
Yeah,
is when
yeah,
I
yeah.
was living in Hyde Park on the south side of Chicago, and we did it at the Connect Gallery. So even for something like this, not just classes and performances, like I'm looking forward to when we could do this in person,
Most
and it's not
definitely.
the screen,
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So,
Yeah.
so this, just like others, is, this isn't even part one, as I've been saying for people. This is already part two. This is like
Okay.
part one
Wow.
and
Wow. Okay. Okay.
1.5.
Okay. Okay.
um,
That's cool.
but yeah, no, thanks for sharing that info of when he got here, and his work in the Blue Angels nightclub, and all of that. But I think what's important to note that you mentioned is his relationship with African dance and how he kind of put that forward. And so, could you kind of take us through where that started and how that got to maybe influences with Muntu and Najwa
Well,
and all?
uh, when I think of, of course, Muntu has changed throughout the years, and Najwa, I mean, it's been she's been a director of that company since the inception of it, which is cool. But she actually started with my dad. Najwa started with my dad, where she was going out and doing shows, and it was my dad did a lot of college tours. I was looking at something of course, when you said you wanted to do the interview, I had to go back and like search through stuff. So I'm looking at a itinerary for a college tour of down south, and I'm not sure if Najwa was in those dances, but she was with him at that time, and he took her and Julian Swain on a college tour. But anybody who did African dance in Chicago, like from like 46 to like to up until he passed, they knew my dad, and as a person that kept the African culture alive, the African dance culture alive. I could think about one of the members of Muntu. I'm not sure if he's even a member now, but Harry Dietrich. And Harry was like almost like an uncle to me growing up. But they came from Jamaica, and of course, he's got his daughter that's dancing now and dancing, So I look at that, and I see like and actually her mom and dad, Harry and his wife, met at my dad's studio. I just see how my dad I mean, his impact is pretty big, in Chicago, even now, until the day. So he was, I mean, of course, he was teaching African dance classes. He was actually teaching Catherine Dunham's dancers. Yeah, he was teaching her dancers, movement and dance movements. When Catherine Dunham was, I mean, when she was out here. But I mean, that was they came to my dad's class, so yeah, him and Catherine Dunham had a lot of respect for each other, so that was yeah, he's had a very big impact in the African and Afro-Caribbean, dance community. I could do a little bit better on my 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 dates and all that in the groups, but in general, I mean, from the 1940, when he came here, up until I would say probably 90. My dad, he passed when he was 95, and he passed in 2000. So he still taught up until he was 93 years old, so and taught well. Not, he taught well. He's in very good physical shape, and his mind was so sharp,
Man,
Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
yeah,
I mean,
that
that's a good testament to those who know and those who don't know. Tap dancers is one of the many things that attracted me to this art form. Is folks really can get better with time, and you can do this as long as you could walk, and then
isn't that
even if
deep?
you're in a wheelchair, you could do a chair dance or something. So
That's
like
real.
it,
That's real. That's
yeah,
real. Yeah, that's so real. Well, I saw my dad like live the life of a tap dancer. So I
yeah,
mean, he did it through those times. Well, my dad was born in 1905, and I was born in 1968. You know,
right.
my youngest brother was born in 1972. So my dad
Mhm.
was pretty much up in age, even
Yeah,
when when he had us.
when you had
So
y'all,
I
yeah.
mean, and even, you know, I go through shit like now where I'm raising 3 daughters and I'm 52. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, my dad was 75 when I was okay, so I was born in 68. I'm sorry, my math is not good right now,
Oh,
but
you're good.
you
You're
get the
good. Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, but it wasn't just me, it was 6 of us. You know, my mother had a
Mm.
daughter before she had met my dad, and then you know, altogether I have 5 siblings here in Chicago. You know, I also have siblings in New York, and I have one that's in Cuba. You know,
Mm.
the Cuba, and he's got my name, Jimmy Payne. Yeah, so actually, I'm not Jimmy Payne Jr. Jimmy Payne Jr. Jr. Yeah, so
Double Junior.
so
Yeah.
yeah, my dad had a full life, and I'm just saying he stayed dancing, and his mind was sharp. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah,
I'm just
so
pulling up some pictures for
oh,
folks.
that's
Yeah.
cool, man. So that picture right there, very I could tell a million stories on that picture. So that's my brother Byron. I can't say little brother Byron
Right
because
here.
he's yeah. Byron's the shorter one. So uh on this picture, this was in, and I'm not sure the date, Nico. It was around 90 or 91. It had to be 90 and 91. It could have been 89. I'm not sure. But
Mm.
my brother, for a long time, I didn't want to tap. You know, my whole perception of tap, my whole understanding of it, uh, wasn't, where it is today. And I didn't want to
Yeah.
tap, but my brother, he wanted to tap, and he kind of got me back into it at this time, you know.
Mm.
So this was, my brother had just gotten back from, he graduated from high school in 89. And he went to upstate New York to teach some classes uh, for a summer camp. And he saw, this could be 89, 90, he saw Black and Blue. So
Mm.
he came back and he was just so excited, and he told me about these dancers and he bought me a pair of tap shoes. I have them on in that picture. Yeah, so he
Right.
bought me a
Wow.
pair of tap shoes, man. And they were dress shoes, but he had taps put on them. I'm talking about like some amazing shoes. Years later, I had given them away. So one of my buddies was going out and he he didn't have shoes, so I gave them away. But that was
That's,
the end of my little tap thing right there. But my brother
where
came
was
back.
this at? I'm
This
just
was on
curious.
30. This was on 31st and King Drive. Yeah, 31st and King Drive. And at this performance, Mr. Taps performed.
Mm.
Eric
Because
King.
I'm just looking at the floor. Like I love how
Hey, but
sleek this picture.
what's so crazy? It's not sleek like that. It was raining this day. It was raining.
That's what
Yeah,
it looks like. It looks
yeah,
like it's wet.
yeah. You see the people with the hoods on. It
Yep.
was raining that day, and this
Wow.
was like pretty much my introduction back into tap dance since I was a child. My dad said I have this show for you all to do, and you're gonna have to come down and practice. And I used to meet
Mm.
my dad at the Boulevard Arts Center, and we would just practice, and I didn't know what I was doing, where it was gonna go, or whatever. But I would just practice, me, my brother, and my dad. So my brother ended up leaving like to Atlanta in '93, and he's still an artist, but he just doesn't do tap.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's successful at what he does. But
Yeah.
he like pretty much like kind of left me hanging.
Mm.
he
Yeah.
he got me back into it and he left me hanging, man.
That
So
that
yeah.
sounds like Sandman. In No Maps on My Tap, Sandman talks about how like his older brother, he always wanted to be like him and dance like him. But more specifically, in the departure portion where he's like, "I got so good," my brother was like, you got it," and he bowed out.
It's crazy, but speaking of we'll say something like my brother, like my style, like okay, I've got a lot from my brother. If he would have danced, oh my God, we were thinking of like some, really, nice stuff together, man. But if he would have danced, it'd
Yeah.
have been really good. You know what I'm saying? He still
Yeah.
is good, but it's just in a whole different way. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
Exactly.
man, my brother was good, but he really got me back in the tap. So
Mm.
uh basically,
there's
I
one.
go
Oh
ahead.
no, go ahead.
No,
I was just gonna
well,
say there's one more I'm gonna pull up. I'm just as you're saying all this, it's reminding me of when I first met you. I believe you were dancing with your sister at the
mhm.
time, and so it just stuck out to me. You know that I started dancing because of my sister in particular, and
Wow, wow.
how you feel about your brother and where how much you all could have done. My sister was pretty dope, and she joined my company for a little bit of time, but she's had her own journey in and out. But I feel
Wow.
like with Sarah it's maybe been similar to you know
Yeah, it is, and I feel that also. Well, Sarah, when Byron left, that was my brother, who went to
mm,
Atlanta. Sarah came home from the army like in '96. Yeah, she was in the army for a minute. She came home from the army, and uh, even without the tap, Sarah has been like my support. I mean, like Sarah, like you
yeah.
know, I mean, Sarah's just like my whole family's like that. We're all tight, we're all very tight, Uh, yeah, but Sarah, she was my support. So Sarah came to see a show at South Shore Cultural Center, and it was like in '92. I was working up there. I was teaching tap up there, and I taught up there for like maybe 6 years, 7 years. And
Mm,
Sarah came to see a show, and Sarah started getting involved with tap. I was like, okay, man, let's make some routines up, and me and Sarah started like really, vibing. Not only, where we tapping, we had a store on 95th and Vanderpool. We like sold like African masks, beads, all like different type of merchandise. And we would go to all these festivals. So I'm just saying,
mm,
Sarah was just like, I mean, me and Sarah were like, I mean, we were, on the same level. Like, we were moving around, you know, yeah, just like navigating our lives, man. But we were navigating them together. You know what I'm saying? She's just we're still really close to me, of course. But
yeah.
yeah, we said, okay, well, we're gonna start making our routines. So this was in
Mm,
the mid '90s. In the early mid '90s, we started making the routines. The first routine we made up, we did an Oscar Peterson song, "That Old Black Magic." And that I mean, it was really nice. So, and
mm,
actually, our dad got to see that. He is very proud. I mean, it's just like, okay, blew his
mm,
mind. And actually, we did that. In a show we were doing. Uh, anyway, I want to go back a little. I want to go back a little for a minute because I'm
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
getting ahead of myself. So
yeah.
basically, I just want to kind of stay on my dad, for a minute and just kind of, tie it into me. Basically, my
Right.
dad did his thing, and I told you I was born in '68. I came up in the '70s. From the
Yeah.
'70s until the '80s, were like pretty good for our family. you know. Uh, my dad had a studio downtown. His initial
Mm,
studio he opened on Randolph Street. I forgot the address. I got it around here, but he opened
yeah.
the studio on Randolph Street, and he eventually moved to the Fine Arts Building. So
Hmm.
my dad was in the Fine Arts Building for 35 years, which is an amazing run, especially for at that time. It wasn't like, you were getting grants in there. It wasn't like, I mean, he did this. He was like known as, the go-to person in Chicago for dance. I mean, he had a dance
Mm,
studio. He did a lot of shows, different, tap dancers, different dancers rehearsed at his studio. I mean, he was, pretty much it. He was a lot for Chicago. You know,
yeah.
from there, we had a pretty good life as far as family life. Of course, my mother, they were married. They had 5 kids together. My mother had one, before us, but we all, like pretty well to do. We went to Catholic schools, lived in a, very nice community, and it was a snowstorm like in like '79 or '80,
Mm,
and basically after the snowstorm, there was no studio. And if it
mm,
was in '80, my dad would have been 75 then, So,
right.
you have this person, that's 75 and he's raising these 6 children.
Yeah.
Not, him by himself, but my mother, mother was a big part of my, development as a dancer, as a person also. But I'm just talking about my dad now. He was really, he did a lot, he did a
Yeah.
lot for us, uh, in 1980, there was no studio. There was, pretty much nothing. We were just like almost. It was like almost dead. From day to night, we like almost like sunk into poverty. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
where we were going to Catholic schools. You know, I'm just saying we not only did we take dance downtown in Chicago and go to the studio, but we took judo classes. My sister
Mm.
took modeling classes. We were like pretty much, well to do, like us, or so we thought,
Yeah.
and it all like boom, it disappeared. 1980, we moved around, quite a bit from 1980 to like 90, but we moved one of the places we moved to the projects, Ivy Wells projects,
Mm.
so that was like a big turning point or learning point, what I'm saying, in our
For
lives,
sure.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like when you go outside that, comfort zone, you really get to see a character, or you even get to develop your character, for the younger ones. But, I think about my dad and my mom, I actually got to see their character, going through this time period, and you picture like a 75-year-old man, moving to the projects, and he's come from Broadway, he's downtown, he's doing this, he's doing that, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm here, so he handled it well, and that's what character is, it's
Mm-hmm.
like he didn't change even in the projects. Nobody messed with my dad. And
Yeah.
of course, my dad was, he was very friendly, happy. He always dressed sharp, but
Yeah.
he was almost like people thought my dad was a gangster. You know what I'm saying? But he would just
Mm.
be going to teach tap classes.
Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah.
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 But he just had this attitude,
Yeah.
and when I look at like a lot of the tap dancers, they all had their attitude. I'm talking about like their minds were just amazing, where they could, be the same on Broadway as they're in the projects, or
Mm-hmm.
in Inglewood. You know what I'm saying? So that was my
Yeah.
dad. So
Yeah.
eventually, we had gotten out of projects, and I'm so glad, all my siblings are here and all of us are doing well. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But uh, one more thing I want to add about character. I remember, being in the projects, and being hungry, and I remember saying, not just me, my siblings also, uh,
Mm.
like, man, why don't you get on financial aid, or why don't you get food stamps? And
Yeah.
my dad and my mom say, no, we won't get food stamps. We won't get on financial aid. Y'all gonna keep going to Catholic schools. We're gonna starve. You know what I'm saying? But everybody came out like, okay, but that's
Yeah.
character, not, bending or succumbing to all that, like your environment. My mom and
Yeah.
dad had great character.
Mm-hmm.
Like they stayed the course. Of course, in that time, the kids were still developing their character. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
thank God we developed it, and we came out all right. But that's pretty much what we went through. Uh,
Yeah.
from there, we moved to different places in Inglewood. We really didn't get back right to like in 90, but the Inglewood experience was amazing too. And I was telling you, we talked about this yesterday, where, I was telling you, and I think this is really important. That's why I want to like really put it out there. I lived on 5658 Wood Street. We moved to 5658, Inglewood. And, 1986, I'm sitting on the porch, and, a guy comes up, he knew my siblings, and, we start talking. and I'm telling them, about my dad in particular, but we're talking about family and all this, and I go up and I always bragged on my dad. I got articles about my dad. I say, hey, man, it's my dad, Jimmy Payne. He did this, he did that. Had a lot of pride. My dad gave me a lot of pride. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah,
so he says, okay, he's like, man, he said he pretty much says I have an amazing dad too. He goes down the street, middle of the block. We lived at the end of the block. He comes back and brings, pamphlets, articles and everything, you know, and this guy is Fred Hampton Jr. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
right.
So yeah,
Like
I'm talking about.
he could have just said his name. He didn't need to go get no articles and nothing.
Yeah, but but
you
but
know.
but you know what's crazy, Nico? That's today because
Yeah,
of course you
yeah,
got the movie and you got YouTube, Facebook, all this. People know about them, but back in the day
yeah.
you didn't. You really
Mm,
didn't know these were like just people. The neighborhood, I'm just saying, had a lot of great people in it. I'm just saying you didn't know who they were, but I'm
yeah,
talking about these were like great people. Like this dude
yeah,
lived down the block, what I'm saying, for me. And we sitting up and Jimmy Payne Jr., Fred Hampton Jr., and I'm not trying to put us on a certain level, like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying I
No,
could
but
never live his story, he
yeah,
could never live mine, what I'm saying?
right.
But at the same time, I'm just saying that was on that block in Inglewood. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And I'm talking
yeah,
about we still close, and his family's still close to mine to this day. He's still close to my family to this day. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But that's just I mean, you can't pay for an education like that. Actually, it's his son, giving you his dad's story. So there were
mm,
some good things also. It's not like, okay, we lived this life and all that, because pretty much we were happy and we didn't really know what we were going through. You know what I'm saying? It was
mm,
just like kind of life, like took us there. But
yeah,
that was a life of a dancer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, my dad, not life of a dancer, but you know, when you think about tap dancers and what we have been through, you know what I'm saying, as far as I mean, like, we fought for this shit. I'm just saying, like, we went through a lot for this, and I'm talking about you
yeah.
got families that went through this. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Yeah, these are actual
Right.
people that go through this. So I'm just saying, this is like a lot of times I wish I could say I did grow up in a studio and
Mm,
and this is what I learned, and I've been here
yeah,
and there, and that's all good too. I'm not tripping on that. I mean, if you have done that, that is great. But at the same time, like, man, this is a life of a dancer also. This is what I went
exactly.
through. And this is, this is what made me, you know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
mean,
no, and I
yeah.
appreciate you sharing that because, I named this the Real Talk Tap Talks on purpose. It's maybe a silly name, but just for the sentiment of, when people say real talk, it's to evoke truth and honesty, and also sometimes the things that, are not as glamorous or whatever the case may be. And, I'm very thankful. Man, we got to shout out Bunny Briggs. Dr. Bunny Briggs' birthday is
Well,
today,
thank you. Yes, yes, I
and
saw
so,
that.
God bless, that man and all that. I love and miss him. But
But
I'm
it's way
thankful.
out. That's one of them real
Yeah.
dudes, man, that I look at, man. I see like all them in 2004. I got a chance to go around the country and interview different tap dancers. And it was Chicago Dance Makers Forum. I was doing a thing called Jimmy Payne's Rhythm of Life. And I got
Mm,
some money to actually go around and interview these great dancers. And
man.
like, I didn't interview Bunny Briggs, but I could look at him, man. I could look at him and so many others, man. And I see my dad, and I actually know what they've
Mm,
been through, and I know what type
yeah.
of beings they are, and I know what type of character they have. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I mean, that's like pretty much what you get and develop through tap. That
Hmm.
I'm talking about. That's
Yeah.
real. These are like real dudes. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and, and that's what I do appreciate. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's real life, and and like I was starting to say, I'm really blessed that I had a personal relationship with Bunny, and just to have somebody who will speak on, as he would say, the nitty gritty of things, and consider himself a a nitty gritty, and it's not just about performing at the Regal Theater and all these places, but it's when your dancing is shaped by the good, the bad, and the ugly, the yin
That's
and the
real.
yang.
That's real.
You
That's
know,
real. And it's
yeah,
crazy. It's making the bad and the ugly good. I mean, that's like what you want to bring out, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying
exactly,
you can make something out of that, and it's just like amazing. You know what I'm saying?
exactly,
So that's how I look at it, and that's how I tend to look at life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten some of my best game in life, in not just lessons, but game, for real life from
Thank
tap
you,
dancers.
thank you, thank you.
So I think that's something why I appreciate going back in our lineages to see, like, where did this come from and that thing, because sometimes we do things even within the actual dancing where we might not really know what we're saying or what this rhythm is or
Thank
what
you.
this step
That's
is.
right. That's right.
You know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So
And,
so I'm just digging and digging, to figure it all out.
it comes out in the dance. It comes out in the dance.
Yep.
Okay, so uh I guess to continue, around 90, we were okay, like pretty much everyone was out of the house. And I'm speaking of my siblings and my mom and dad, they were, still together and doing all right. We went through that whole period. Uh that Sammy Davis Jr. thing was probably in 91, and in about 92 or 93, my dad he said, "Hey, I got a gig for you." And
Mm.
I'm like, what is it this time? That's like my actual attitude because of course I was living away from my dad at that time. I was doing my own thing. I knew how to tap, but it wasn't nothing like I felt like I was gonna pursue. I didn't feel like, okay, man, I'm gonna be a tap dancer, like I'm gonna go and put myself out there. Uh, so he said he had a gig for me at ETA Creative Arts Center, and that was a theater on the South Side. I'm not sure if they're still open. I think they're rebuilding or something. 75th in South Chicago. You know, I go there. That was really I taught there, but it was really a place for learning. For me. Renako Jahi taught there. Jerry Williams. Really people that are respected in their craft. I didn't really feel like I was about 22 or 3 or 4. I don't know. Yeah, so I go there and basically I learned. I learned from the kids. They did my first choreography was there. My first piece of choreography was in a show called Casino and the Coconut Palm, and it was two girls, Shayna and Angela, and they did a thing called the Cool Cats,
Mm.
and they did a thing, and it was like pretty good. I mean, it was like, okay, I felt like I put something together. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So uh, after that, I, uh, I leave there after 2 years, and I go to South Shore, and at the same time, I'm at I'm at Bryan Ballet. Well, Chicago Multicultural Dance Center today, but it was Bryan Ballet.
Mm.
you know, I go there, and South Shore was cool where, I was just teaching, I was growing, and I was actually practicing, and I was like really starting to feel tap a little bit more, but I go to Homer's, and I really, of course I'm a teacher, but then again there, my first few years, I'm learning, I'm watching the shows, just the recitals were just amazing. Everybody's dancing. They got so much attitude. It's like, okay, these are dancers. It's like, you got to come for real. So I, our first piece, we do a Christmas piece, and Homer dresses these two kids up like snowballs or something. Homer's very creative, and he makes like all kind of little different costumes, and he like, they're snowballs or something. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna dance with him. I'm thinking like, okay, I gotta like, like put myself
You're like,
out
I
there.
want to be a snowball. No, I'm just kidding.
okay, let me get out here with them, you know. And
Mm.
I'm like putting together like nice routine. So I get out there, man. It's like 91 and 92. And the performance is absolutely terrible. Like, okay, people could like do snowballs at me. Like, you know, get your ass off the stage.
Oh damn! It was like that. It was one of the one of the real performances, the ones that don't make the highlight reel.
I know. I'm glad it wasn't Apollo. Yeah, they would have. I would have had to run off the stage. They would have just do shit. So
Right.
I'm the next day I come back. We have two performances, and the next day I call my dad up and say, hey, can you come with me to this performance? I didn't do good last night. Blah blah. So he comes with me, and I always felt comforted in my dad. Like, okay, man, help me through this. So very, very supportive person, what I'm saying, through the whole thing. My dad, he's right there, looking out. So the next day is better. The next day is better. It's not great. It's like a 7, what I'm saying, on a scale of 1 to 10,
Mm.
So from there, at that point, I think that's when I like kind of start realizing that this is the stage. What I'm saying? It was like, I'm kind of out here for real. What I'm saying? You got to do your thing. The next, I did like little gigs, in between, the next thing, or the next major thing I did. But the next thing I can remember was a concert with Bill Russo, Columbia College Jazz Ensemble, or Chicago Jazz Ensemble. It wasn't Columbia College Jazz Ensemble. They were in Columbia College, but Chicago Jazz Ensemble. And
Yeah.
I had a solo piece. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And it's suite number 2. Really nice concert. The top people were on it. So after that, I felt like that I could dance. What I'm saying? After that, I remember doing the Don't Mean a Thing in this other solo performance where the music was just like so fast and like crazy and switched up so much. That was my first time freestyling on stage or just improvising. Like, okay, well, I could dance. I just got to do this. So I got
Yeah.
out there and I just drilled. And an audience like really took to me and really liked it. The clothes, that the costumes were amazing. I felt like, okay, well, I could tap dance. So I would say like that had to be around 94, 90, 94. I just knew like, okay, I'm going to do this. What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do this. So I could say that was like my birth of becoming like an official tap dancer. Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's dope. At least like I think you said he passed in 2000, so then there was a good amount of years where like he could see you come full circle into your dancing, where I feel like from what you've said, you were kind of in and out and like you dug it and didn't. It wasn't like the thing at the time. It wasn't like the hot thing to do, you
Thank you.
know.
Well, you
Yeah.
figure, man, like, I came up in the 70s and 80s. People like today, I'm just saying tap is not the hip, but tap is hip and it's hip. I'm just saying people want to do it. You know what I'm saying? The people, the teachers and the people that are considered great. I'm just saying, like, people, the
Yeah.
kids look up to them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Back in the day, it was kind of like a transition period where, my dad wore a suit every day. I wasn't wearing a suit. I didn't really feel that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
I wasn't feeling like, and it was this thing like, even in grade school, like, oh, you tap dance and you do a little step or whatever, but it wasn't, did nobody looking like, okay, I want to tap dance. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a thing like that. It started like for me, and I'm sure for a lot of others, it started coming back around like in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
people were like starting to feel tap again. You know what I'm saying? But I think about it, my dad and of course other people like kept it alive during that time, what I'm saying, for other people to take it up, like myself, and you. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. But tap wasn't like happening, what I'm saying, when I was coming up. I could tap, but it wasn't like a thing like, I knew I wouldn't be a tap dancer. I was
Mm.
very proud of what my dad was doing and bragged on him, but it was just like, man, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Timing is important,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
just like you've said, when people had Savion to look at and all that, that was a different thing. It was a little earlier than that for you, 70s or 80s or something,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but but yeah, so I mean, there are still so many places we could go, but I kind of want to kind of connect where we just were back to Fred Hampton Jr. because
Okay.
you kind of mentioned how tap wasn't the thing to do also when it transitioned out of like, is this a distinguishing thing or not?
Wow. Okay.
So I'm
So
just curious if you ever talked to him about tap and what his impression was.
this is something kind of well, I could go way long about this, but it's crazy. I mean, I kind of keep it simple. So
Yeah,
when okay, so like in the 90s, I think for myself, my siblings, we were coming into a period of time where it was almost like a revisit of the 60s and 70s. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Where, you know, people were like getting tired, they like, okay, we want to just do, and we're not that whole image of tap dancing, what I'm saying, we were kind of rejecting that. You know what I'm saying? Even you think
exactly.
about BDP, and it made me mad a couple of times when he I forgot, I forgot what song it is because I love BDP, but it was some song where he
Yeah,
talks about a tap dancer, foot shuffling, this and that. And it's kind of just like, but that's the
so
way people were
disappointed.
feeling it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But of
exactly.
course, they really didn't know tap and they really hadn't seen tap, so they were feeling that way. And that was the impression that people have. And I think it's starting to change now, which is so great, but at that time, people weren't feeling tap like that.
Yeah.
So I, like in the 90s, my brother I think about my brother and I speak about my brother. I don't want to say too much, but Byron, he's probably watching.
Yeah, yeah,
so,
right.
so, so I, so, and it's real what he was thinking. He was like, black people don't need any more tap dancers.
Mm,
That was his
yeah,
attitude. And it was understandable, at that time. Like, but at the same time, you think about Fred Hampton, and I heard this from his mouth, what I'm saying? That dance is important and we need culture. This is a
mhm,
culture, what I'm saying, that we carry on. And it surprised me,
yeah,
like when I heard him, when I heard him
yeah,
say this, like, whoa, what I'm saying? But I know his daughter was in African dance, what I'm saying?
mhm,
And it wasn't like I mean, it was just amazing when he said that. And only heard him say that probably in the last 5 or 6 years,
wow,
yeah,
yeah,
but it is just like, I mean, it is important. Sometimes we miss that, or I say we did miss that, where they associated this dance with this, I guess, I don't know what I was, I wouldn't say subjective. I would say, well, I probably would say, or like slave type attitude. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, okay, dance for me, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was almost like, it was amazing, but that shit was nothing. They could write it off like, you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Yeah. So that's I mean, it's important to really keep pushing. Well, that's why I'm so proud of the tap community today. Is like, I mean, it's just so real. We like push
right,
that, but we like it ain't that. You know what I'm saying? What you thinking
mhm,
about, or what you think it is. And I'm just saying, we see it and we feel it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Yeah,
yeah,
it's just I mean, it's really African rhythms and movements. You know what I'm saying? And it's just amazing. So when people see it, they like, okay, they open to it. Like, man, they don't think like, I don't want to see that with your, your long tail and little hat and the little cane and all.
mhm,
They don't want to see that, but it's just so real today. They like, okay, they gotta accept that. They gotta be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
they feel it. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I'm really, I can say I'm amazed at that and proud of that. Like, how far tap has come, our mentality, about tap dance, especially, I mean, especially, black people, like, because those, they, they, when I say they, I'm just saying the media, you know what I'm saying, just society in general, you know, put us on that level where we just kind of disrespected tap, or, you know, as practitioners, like, you know, they was just like some, you know, yeah, they was, you know, I mean, that's what
Yeah,
we did, you know what I'm saying? Society
exactly.
did that. And we took
Yeah.
that back, which is so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, it's interesting that, you mentioning with BDP, like, even to this day, there are people who will say something in their raps, and like you'll hear something from someone like Black Thought, who's like one of my favorite MCs of all
Most definitely.
time,
Same here. Same here. Same here. But you know
and it's
what?
like,
What's way out about that,
okay.
Nico? About a month ago, I say about 3 or 4 months ago, you know, that Willie D live show. He put
Mm,
something up there and he talked about tap dancing. And I got tired of it, man. He always talked about tap dancing. And I put it right on there. I'm like, okay, man, let me tell this dude, like, you know, you
yeah,
don't know tap. I actually told him that. I mean, not that he got the message or whatever, but I mean, I
yeah,
typed it in there like, you, you know, you putting this out here. And I told him that there were many rappers. You know, what if we talked
mhm,
about like that about rap? Because there's some, you know, rappers out there that give, you know, the culture, you know, a bad name. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So what if I talked about rap like that? I wrote that to him. Yep, I wrote that
mhm,
to him, but he kept saying it over and over. And I'm like, what does this dude know
yeah,
about tap? You know, it was kind of
exactly.
like,
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and that's why it's good that there are folks who are continuing to be freedom fight, not just freedom fighters, but advocates of the truth. Because when you mentioned, you first coming into contact with Fred Hampton Jr. and talking about your pops, and then he's talking about his, like, and you said you don't want to put him, necessarily place him in the same spot, but tap dancers have been freedom fighters and advocates of the truth for since Ben,
thank
like
you. That's real.
Bill,
But that's why it's so
Bilbo
real.
Jangles
But
Robinson,
no,
Bilbo
thank you.
Jangles
No, but
Robinson,
you
we
and
would
I
say.
know that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like,
Exactly.
no, that's so real. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
That's so real.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And I'm just
but
saying
that's
this
my
to Oh, no, no. I was just going to say, I'm saying this to say what you did is important, because even if the person who's hosting whatever, if they're not paying attention, somebody else in that comment section could see that, and
thank
unless
you.
it's a
Thank you.
private message. And, like Star recently has on Instagram, when she's seen people doing that, she'll like tag them and, make a post in her story and just call it out. And so it's interesting because people could take it different ways no matter how you deliver it. You could be nice about it, but
Uh-huh.
they could still
Mm-hmm.
feel attacked. But I think
Mm-hmm.
either way, we have to start educating people any chance that we can, if the moment feels like, it might call for that, because people need to know. And an interesting thing that I feel funny saying myself, but I heard, a tap dancer saying a few months
Mm-hmm.
back, people don't give this same connotation to jazz musicians, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the music that we were, folks were dancing to. Now I
Thank
can't
you.
say
Thank
we,
you.
but that's the music that folks were dancing to.
Uh-huh.
So because the tap dancers in the front, and because of what we do is so visual, we
Mm-hmm.
get the bad rap. But it wasn't just tap dancers who were, having to perform in minstrel shows and wearing blackface and things like that. So
Okay.
it kind of sucks that we're the ones who get this reputation, where it was a mix of people. But either way, it's important to know where we're at now. You
Mm-hmm.
can think
Mm-hmm.
to, like, last time you tuned into tap dancing, which might have been that. But if you're not doing any research, you just put hashtag tap dancing,
And that
Instagram,
did, yes,
YouTube,
yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
you'll
Mm-hmm.
see how far it's came. Of course, there's still people doing anything where it's subjectively good or bad in terms of quality or whatever the case may be. But the dance has come a
Mm-hmm.
long way. But I'm just saying, like, I think that it's dope to highlight the people who have fought through for things to be where they are now. Even like you
Thank you. That's
mentioned with
real.
with your
That's
pops, with
real.
African dancing and all that.
Well, you know, it's the, you know, me being a dancer, I take that type of thing personal. You know, as far as what people don't give props to the people that were before, because I actually know
Right.
what it took. I know the sacrifice that it took, you know, to get us to where we are now. You know, it took people to present this art form and perform this art form and teach it in a dignified manner. You know what I'm saying?
For
And my
sure.
dad was one of
Yeah.
those people, and so were a lot of other people. You know what I'm saying? And kept telling, you know what I'm saying, amazing stories. So that's I mean, of course, I take it kind of personal, but at the same time, it's just like I mean, it evolves, you know, with or without me. You know, it's all good. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, man, we got through like your early dance career, and I just
Hmm.
want to dial back to that to ask: did you ever study other styles, or did you ever do music or anything like that?
No, so when I was a child, and I didn't even mention this either, I took drum lessons in the Fine Arts Building, you know, and I
Wow.
took them drum lessons for about 6 years, you know, and I remember getting very good on, you know, drums. Uh, in reference to styles, and you know, I could even go as far as, you know, taking dance from other people. I never have. So
Mm,
my thing was you know, when I really started dancing, I think my dad, he just like put a lot of stuff in my head to like he taught me, you know, a lot when I was younger, but like I say, when I was getting older and coming up, he was sitting down, you know. So I mean, my dad was pretty, you know, like I mean, he's probably getting tired. Just saying.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just like, okay, I said, I know I have the basics. And he always taught me how to put them together. You know, well, like, okay, you do this. And then I can always equate them to different things. Like I always, you know, equate dance to language, you know, and how you put language
Yeah.
together and, you know, structures, you know what I'm saying, and formats, you know what I'm saying? So I knew like, okay, my dad told me dance was a language. So this is how you put it together. And I could see and figure it out in my head and put it together, you know, and I could make different combinations like with different steps, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And of course, it's math too. So I figured like all that out, like, okay, counts and all that. But my dad didn't really help me. Like, he was pretty much sitting down, you know. I can remember, so, uh, uh, going back. So about
Yeah.
95 and 96, uh, I met a guy by the name of Lawrence Walden, you know, and I did meet Lawrence Walden, you know, at a show where he came to see me dance, or I came to see him sing. He he sold artwork, and he came into our
Mm,
store, you know, me and my sisters, and he said, hey, I got this, you know, stuff, you know, I want y'all to sell. Y'all got, you know, we got paintings and blah blah. We were looking at it. So by the third time through, Lawrence comes through. I'm like, man, you know, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? Because it was something, you know, extra special about this dude. And he
yeah.
says, man, I got a 19-piece orchestra. This is how Lawrence talked, you know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And I did this and I did that, and I'm a singer, blah, blah. So come to find out, you know, a lot of people don't know of him, but a lot of people do. But Lawrence Walden. So Lawrence Walden, he did a show here called Me and Mr. B. He's done like over 1,000 shows for Disneyland. This dude is just like amazing. And then he's an amazing artist. I mean, his visual
yeah.
art is just like way out. He's like, man, I was like, oh, you do this, you know, and you know, you sing and blah blah. And I said, okay, why tap dance? And he's like, you tap dance? And we started talking, and he said, hey, you can act, you know. And I was like, man, I can't act, you know. But of
Mhm.
course, I had got you know, pretty much you know, education at ETA because I had watched, you know, the kids learn Renato. I mean, he's amazing in teaching them kids. I mean, it's just like I would, you know, I would act like I wasn't watching, but I would absorb everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Renako, you know, as a matter of fact, one of the kids in that play was Kel Mitchell from Keenan and Kel. You know, he
Wow.
yeah, he would always come in my class and vibe with me. He didn't take my tap class, but he would always be in my class and he'd sit up on the bars and he vibe with
Mm,
me. You know what I'm saying? We
mm,
talk, we laugh, you know what I'm saying? But it was some talent. I'm talking about the ETA, it was just talent. Like, I mean, everybody's doing their thing. But you know, I played my sister and me. We did we played different parts of the play, and we put together routines for this play.
Damn.
And this was like in 96, 97, about 97. My dad came to see the play, and it just like blew his mind. He couldn't believe it because it was like, okay, he probably saw like it's pretty much genetics. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you doing stuff I was doing back then, but I would just like kind of put stuff in my head, see it, what I'm saying, and know what to do here and there. And not only that, it was Lawrence having like a lot of faith in me. Matter of fact, Lawrence Walden lived with Gregory Hines' father for a minute. I'm talking about Lawrence Walden. Look him up. Yeah, he
Yeah.
actually lived with them. Yeah, he actually lived with them. But he's I mean he talks about Maurice Hines all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He actually lived with them. Lawrence Walden, very amazing jazz singer, very amazing artist. You know what I'm saying? And like a mentor to me. He always reminded me of my dad. His birthday, August 18th. My dad's is the 21st. They're both Leos. They're both light skinned. They were both like really charismatic. Lawrence dressed, my dad dressed, but Lawrence, that's my dude. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, we did that
Oh,
play.
okay. Now I see who you're talking about. I couldn't find it at first,
Okay,
but yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and Marla Gibbs from 227 and the Jeffersons was in that also. Very nice lady. Yeah, very cool lady. Reminds me of my mother. Just got really tight with me and my sister. So we did it at the Legacy Theater. We did it at DuSable. We did it at a few other places. We did it on 12th Street. It was a theater there a long time ago, like maybe 15, 20 years ago. Yeah. But that was really yeah, that was like really the start of my like, okay, knowing, people like helping me. And of course it wasn't just my dad, it was different people that like really like gave me confidence to actually go out there and perform, and teach and just like pretty much live. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super fresh. Yeah. Man, you're giving some really dope history, and I want to. There's some things I want to circle back to, but I guess maybe to keep it pushing because I want to touch on your company.
Hmm.
Um, you know,
Perfect timing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
perfect timing. Speaking of, yeah.
yeah. So perfect timing. I was dancing with my sister initially. This about 97 when I kind of started developing it. And there were different people in my class that I just saw a lot of talent in. And one is good, but when you got two or three or four, I'm just saying it makes it that much better. You know what I'm saying?
Was this at ETA or where was
So this
this?
no, this was that I really kind of, well, not even kind of. I pretty much developed this at Homer Bryan Ballet in Chicago Multicultural Dance Center. It was like I could actually say that was the home where he would let us rehearse and and I want to stop a minute right there. That's why like it's really so important. I get so much props to my dad, and all that, but I just know it was just so much it was so much bigger than my dad that got me started. You think about Homer Bryant, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you think about different people in the community. I even think about the first, person that, hit me to jazz. You know, Matt McCarville. He's like almost like a parent of mine, back in the day where he was like a mentor type person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he loved jazz and like, but you would think my dad did that, because my dad was, like jazz and this and that. But I'm just saying that there's so many different people that have helped me along the path. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, of course, I mean, it's cliche and all that, but it takes a village to raise a child. You know what I'm saying? Like different people have helped me along the way. But getting back to perfect timing, uh, I developed perfect timing in there. And I just had a group of students who were really good. Yeah. And I was like, I looked at a lot of the stuff that people were doing, in Chicago and not so much elsewhere, maybe a little, But I was like, man, I could put that together, and I saw like my image, in my head, like what dancers, should be doing, and I like really put it out there, yeah. So it was, yeah, some amazing, I think it was
Yeah,
some
yeah.
amazing.
Well,
I think it was amazing work. I could think about, Poinciana, the
mm,
Ahmad Jamal. We killed that. Like I have that on tape, but it's on like one of them little small tapes. I gotta
right.
get another thing to
To
put it out
convert it.
there. But yeah, man, it was some like really nice stuff. And my whole thing with Perfect Timing was we did jazz. We were going straight jazz. At one time, in like the late '90s, when tap started really taking, foothold, and coming back, a lot of people were talking about, the funk. And it was cool. I understood that, what I'm saying? Of course, bringing noise, bringing the funk, what I'm saying? They were just like, hitting and all that. But I was really on jazz at that time. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
on, jazz at that time. Like, okay, and I've always been on it. I've always loved the music, what I'm saying? And I just felt like it was like the perfect music to express, my style of tap. So, that time with Perfect Timing, several, jazz pieces, that we did that were just like, I'm like, I could put in my hand and be like, that's them a classic, what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
that's where I was coming from. I just like, okay, it wasn't a thing like where I was getting this group together and say, hey, we're gonna tour, we're gonna do this, but whatever came, but we had amazing time like working together, learning the material and just being it was just like kind of, so, of course, my sister Sarah was in the group, so it's just like, it's just like on some, like some family type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we just like it wasn't even like we weren't tripping on, none of that. But at the same time, I felt like, our stuff was as good as anybody else's. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and I was very proud of the work that I did, with Perfect Timing.
Yeah. And you said that started in like 97?
That started about '97. I said about 97 probably. Yeah, 97 and went on to like maybe 2003. Yeah, 2003 or
Crazy.
2004. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I don't know, you may know better than me, but I think that we met just on gigs together. And, I just remember, in early Mad Rhythms days seeing you
Yeah,
on.
it's way out. I don't even know if I ever told you this, but I always have an image of you when I
Mm.
actually like saw you. First of all, I knew your mother, of course, before I knew you. And your mother's amazing to me. Yeah. She
Mm.
reminds me of my mom in a lot of ways. That she like really pushes you and she like wants the best for you. Your mother's like an amazing person. I don't have to go all
Oh,
into that.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm
No,
like,
I
yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. So I met your mother way before I met you. And the
Mm.
time I saw you at uh what was the name of the Fagan studio that was in
Oh,
Western
wow.
Springs?
Joe's Footworks.
Yeah, you were walking through the
Wow.
hall with your mother. You were trying to figure out
Mm.
where you were gonna go and take who you were gonna take classes from. And you stopped in for a little bit on my class, but you were walking through the hall with your mother, and I remember that scene. Y'all walking out because we had the glass there.
The
Y'all
glass.
walking out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but you saw it in there that your mother like. She came up there for you. Like, this is my son. I'm
Mm.
trying to get, and like, man, look where you are. It's amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that's when I like kind of, knew you. Then I see you on little gigs, different little gigs, but then I see you at Columbia. And then
Mm.
of course I noticed like how you dancing and I'm like, yeah, amazing, Nico. Yeah,
Man,
yeah,
I
amazing,
appreciate it.
man. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Rewinding even back to, I like I said, when I said you might know better than me, because I feel like, because my sister was dancing before me and my mother, was so a part of, not just her development, but the different dance communities that we were a part of, from the studios
Uh-huh.
that we were at to eventually the tap world. But
Okay.
but I've been around, as you know, longer than I've been tap dancing. Just like, when I was being brought around, just because they couldn't find a babysitter for me, nobody wanted to
Okay, wow,
babysit me.
wow. Why ain't that deep, man? Ain't that deep? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like I meet people, or not just meet people, but I feel like I remember when I've met people sometimes, but they've met me before I was conscious of like who
Ain't
was
that
who,
deep?
yeah,
But it's so
but
crazy,
I have to
man.
give it.
Now
Yeah.
that I think, man, is kind of tripped down like what we absorb, you know what I'm saying? Like what we absorb, even, I mean, just being around that environment, you know what I'm saying? Tap dancers and rhythms and seeing different stuff, man. It's like, man, you be at, such a level at first, and then you just like, boom. It seems like that, but you got all this in you already. That's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
absorbed a lot. Yeah, you absorbed a lot through the tap community and just like, shoot. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man, I appreciate it. I mean, what's
Yeah.
crazy though is I was thinking about that today even more. Like, I feel like I got to know the people before I got to know the dance, and I
Wow,
feel like
wow, wow.
that's also why I'm so interested in the history of everything, because I
Okay.
was a part of learning the history before I even learned to shuffle.
Wow,
For
wow.
those who don't know, my mother would volunteer to drive for the tap festivals, so she would pick up the teachers from the airport, take them to the hotel,
Yes,
take
I
them to the
know. Yeah,
classes,
yeah,
shows, rehearsals,
yeah.
everything. And I would just be all the way in the back of the van. And, there's only so many comic books you could read before you're bored. And
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like tuning into what folks are talking about. And it was just so intriguing how into this art form everybody was. It's not like
Wow,
I finished my class, now let's talk about sports or something. It's like
wow.
everyone's still talking about this thing, and it made me feel like, what is this tribe that I feel like I want to be a part of,
Isn't that deep, man? Yeah, yeah. But it's
Yeah.
crazy. All along you were. It's just like, man, you unconscious of it. Then it just like hits you, man. And that's when it like, okay, those physical skills took off. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
just like,
and
whoa.
and
Yeah,
not to
man.
stay on me, but just to say I feel like I got good at the pace that I did because I felt like I was so far behind. I felt
Wow.
like I was trying to catch up,
And that
where
deep,
it
man.
wasn't.
Well, you know
Yeah,
what's that's funny when you talk about trying to catch up, Nico. So my,
mm,
my tap instruction is kind of tripped out in a way in that, of course, I told you, I took from my dad, and that's a pretty much like, the tap instruction that I had, uh, of course, in the 90s and 2000s and all that, people are going around to all these festivals and they're taking from these different teachers and they're gaining some amazing skills. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, I mean, what the and people could argue with this, and I think I heard you say something on it before, where the older tap dancers they'll like kill this new generation or whatever. I really don't think so because I think like it's just like saying the older basketball players that kill the new generation or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think
Mm,
like tap, just like basketball, anything else has evolved so much, and now people could like you learn a lot from what you see. So
yeah,
if I look at different styles, if I watch your style for a minute, I start picking up different stuff from what you do. I just
mm,
like keep on watching different people's styles. I learned from that, and that's out here today. That wasn't
yeah,
out there, what I'm saying, back in the day. So I think,
yeah,
the students, the tap students, and the ones who really want to do it, man, they're just doing amazing stuff that's like kind of beyond me, and,
yeah.
and and a lot of times, like I say, I learn from my students, I learn from you too, but and then yeah, I'm just saying it's like I could never, I could never compare to the tap dancers that are out today. I'm just so like glad I'm a part of it, and whatever part I got, I'm cool with it. I'm not gonna trip because they doing like some way out stuff,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I feel you.
and I'm like, man,
Yeah,
I can't touch that, man. I can't, so I'm very comfortable in what I do. And I'm grateful, for that. Like, I'm not even tripping on what you do, but at the same time, it is amazing. You know what I'm saying? The
yeah,
technical skill that, dancers have today, like even you, I've said this to you and several dancers before. I'm not going to call myself like a technical master. You know what I'm saying? I'm still learning so much, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and of course I still practice, you know, and of course, it's not even just practice, it's just like I tap, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I really tap, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not whatever you do, you know what I'm saying? But yeah,
right.
man, I'm so impressed like by what you're doing and different artists that like man, I couldn't even see, you know, like in my wildest dreams, you know, when I was coming up, these dancers coming up now have so much more to you know, I mean the bar has been raised. You know, you got to come with it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's I
Yeah.
mean it is what it is, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's love and respect. I really appreciate that. I mean, I'm interested. I wonder what I said, based on what you were mentioning, but I feel like I in the past have like we watched the Nicholas brothers doing Stormy Weather, and
Uh-huh.
it could be like things like that where I'll show that clip to people and be like, nobody's doing that now. But in the
Okay.
same respect, that's like that's just the production value other than their dancing. It's their dancing, but it's also like
Mm-hmm.
it's very much their dancing. It's not really the production style, but it's just like the approach. but
Uh-huh.
but these days we don't we have to focus on performing, of course, in the visual component, and that's so
Mm-hmm.
much a part of it. But we can really get to just the technical side of things, whether it's the footwork or the musicality,
Mm-hmm.
and take it to another level. So I agree, and I'm glad I came up when I did, because in so many ways I feel like my generation is like the bridge generation between this
Oh yeah,
and that.
most definitely. Well,
Um,
it's crazy, man, because I almost feel like, well, not really. I can't say my age group because I can think about Trey, and he does like a lot of the things, and you know, Brill's a little younger than him, but he does a lot of things that you do. But it's almost like sometimes I feel like I missed it. Like I'm like,
yeah,
okay, so I just gotta do what I do, and I have to do it well. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So that's like my mentality with my tap. Like, okay, well, and then I can always still create and still come up with things. And I always think it's just as good as what they're doing, you know, and it's not
exactly.
they or me and all that, but it's just like, okay, well, I can do that. Well, let me, do this and and yeah, that's how I feel. Oh, yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly. I mean, we all bring something different to the table, and
Mm-hmm.
if we all were doing the same thing, then what fun would that be for the audience who aren't tap dancers, or even for those who are, you
Thank you.
know.
Well, I preach
Yeah.
that, Nico, and that was the first thing I said when I got online, with you today. I said, we do the compare contrast. And it's Nico, Bill Bojangles, and Fred Astaire. So these are all
Man.
distinct styles. These are like distinct styles that you can identify and that you can actually write about, you can describe, and I couldn't get like, three Nicos for them to describe, and I'm just saying it's just they have to
Yeah.
be distinct styles, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So at the same time, we are moving on that level where it's just amazing. I think it could be a little bit more distinctive, like what we see today,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, like, it could be people doing different stuff, but I mean, it's maybe that's just me, maybe they are, but it's just like yeah, it's it's I mean, that's how I feel. It could be a
Yeah.
little different. You saw, back in the days, like you look at no maps on my taps, you see three tap dancers there, and you say they're all so different.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think we see that today, and it's
Yeah.
just like, and it's all coming from the same place, but it's good and it's amazing,
Mhm.
but
Yeah. No,
I think
I
it
hear
could be
what
a
you're.
little bit different,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and it's been a conversation piece, for a while now, where there's people above my generation and in my generation that the younger folks are looking to, and they kind of like, I don't want to say copy, but they end up very similar,
hmm
and we might be able to be distinguished from each other, but it's where people coming after some of us, they're locking into our style a little bit more than exploring their own thing
hmm
sometimes. So
hmm
I feel like there is diversity, and some people like find their own thing kind of quickly,
uh-huh.
but there are people who like Michelle Dorrance is very specific, and then
Thank
there are
you.
people
Well,
who
thank
dance
you.
just
Well,
like
that's
her.
another dancer that I always speak about. Uh,
Yeah,
I think about my teaching and specifically my teaching at Columbia, Columbia College. You know,
yeah,
we have we have a different group of students that come in, each semester, and you might have a beginner, an intermediate, and advanced in the same class, and you gotta like blend them together. It's kind of tripped out. But
yeah,
with saying that, I have to figure out a way where everybody improves, you know what I'm saying? And my whole thing, the concept of improvement is like improving on yourself, you know what I'm saying? And what you give and the way people perceive you. So you might have a beginner, finals time, she might outdo the advanced person. I've seen it. I'm talking about, and they
yeah,
get so creative, and you be like, man, what was that? You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like
yeah,
way out. So it's not, I mean, it is skills. And I think a lot of people are going for them skills, like, oh my God, that was cold. And, but at the same time, it's a different type of skill sets that, it comes with like creativity and not just like mimicking, of course you can pick up, what you see and, it's that's good. But at the same time, you have to figure out what you're going to do with it and how you're going to make it unique, what I'm saying, and how you're going to move the people with what you have, what I'm saying. Yeah, kind of deep,
yeah,
man.
yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think it would be kind of dope to speak on your history at Columbia College at this point, because you've taught there for a while, right?
Yeah, so I've been at Columbia for since '98. Yeah, so since '98.
Man,
So yeah, that's quite a lot. And you know what is crazy because it doesn't even seem, like it's been that long. Sometimes I look up, I'll be like, it's another year. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really even seem like that long. But it's been a great experience for the most part. And I mean, that's just like, I mean, that's life. I mean, for the most part, I mean, life is great, but
yeah,
it's Colombia is a place where there's been a lot of growth, what I'm saying? And I really get to see a lot of growth. I mean, nothing gives you, more satisfaction than a month ago, I got a letter from a student. She's in graduate school now. And,
mm,
she say, okay, thank you for what you did, and it's not like she's not going to be a tap dancer. I'm not sure what she's going to be, but it's
yeah,
just like giving, students that inspiration, what I'm saying? And it's helping students find their way through tap.
right,
It's not like, every student that comes in your class is not going to be a professional tap dancer, or I mean, it's just like, you know, maybe 5% of them are. I'm just saying, maybe 3%.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So it's basically we're putting something out there that gives people, pride. Of course, we go back to poise. We go back to like rhythm, not just like rhythm in our dance, but like a rhythm, in our whole life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, we teach problem solving skills. So,
right, for sure.
you talk people through this, dance, and you talk them through their lives. You know what I'm saying? So that's the joy I get
Yeah,
out of Columbia College. It's not so much, man, I gotta, my last student went to Broadway. You know what I'm saying? Or 50% of the graduates are in this Broadway show, which is amazing. And you always
yeah,
push for that. But my thing is like, man, it's not me, man. I can't, I've taught like a lot of great students, but I could never take responsibility for them. I mean, for instance, I've taught Jamani, Jamani Taylor.
mm,
Oh my God, that's,
mm,
when you talk about the top five, he's in the top five. I can never take no credit for that. At the same time, I can say when he was in that class at Chicago Multicultural Dance Center, like he got that jazz no matter what he wanted to hear. That shit, I mean, it wasn't hip then, but I'm talking about that's
yeah,
what he got. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Yeah,
yeah,
man. So I mean, he got something, and of course, I mean, respect him and appreciate him so much. But I'm just saying, I can't, take, credit for, any of my students. But I'm like, man, I will, try to push you there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And help to get you where you're going. And it could be, with tap or, anything else, just like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's dope uh, that you've been there for over 20 years and affected so many lives. And I've heard this from people who have taken your classes, different dancers where
Mhm.
tap isn't required, right? Or
No,
is it?
no, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's not.
So
It's not. It's not.
yeah, which is unfortunate, but at least that goes to show people who at least will sign up for it, have somewhat of an interest.
Thank
And
you.
and
Thank
just
you.
like you said, yeah, just like you said, whether they become everyone becomes a tap dancer or not,
Hmm.
as teachers, we're able to excuse me, as teachers, we're able to affect their lives outside of the shuffle as well. There are things that we teach in these classes that could be applied, to different scenarios, real life scenarios.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I've heard good feedback from people, taking your
Wow, that's
classes
cool. That's
and
cool.
really
That's
digging it.
good.
So,
That's good to hear, man. It's been a long time, man, and I do appreciate Columbia, man. It's like one of them things where, like, of course, I'm so glad I get paid there, and of course through this pandemic, that's like kept me going. But at the same time, man, like the energy that I get from them students and like going back and forth, we build a lot in class, just like you and I, like right now. But I mean, it's just like we go back and forth and they feed me and I feed them. So it's always like a
yeah,
good time. Like, okay, you come to class, you're gonna grow. And I'm always grow too, Yeah. So
yeah,
I appreciate Columbia. I appreciate Columbia in that way. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I appreciate that. Just our relationship being what it was fine. But then when you hit me up to do a workshop there, I can't remember if it was once or twice or how many times,
It
that was
it
really
could have
really
actually
special
been,
to me.
yeah, it could have been three, Nico, but I've
Right?
never sent
Yeah,
them to you. And I've got them. I've got pictures of you in my class and I've got some video of you. You got on your red tap
man.
shoes and you got on red shorts, man. Yeah, 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 man.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm talking
that's
about
true.
nice. Yeah, real nice, man. But it's always good when they see people like besides me, what I'm saying, where like,
Mhm.
okay, man, this is what you well, I do it every semester, man. Like we talk about
Yeah,
different tap dances and different styles from even a lot of people now, a lot of the young females like Chloe Arnold. They're like, okay, did you see that? They talk about that. So that's all good. Or they talk about Jason Samuels. I always must show like Jason Samuels. Like, okay, it's just different tap
yeah.
dancers. I'm like, okay, I'm not it, y'all. I mean, it's a bigger world, what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
I'm just like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna do it, what I'm saying, to, lead you to that, what I'm saying? And that's what I push, what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, for me, it was dope to get in to teach my peers, but also this is me maybe being funny, but the first time I taught and I got a check from somewhere that I owe so much money to,
Oh wow, isn't that
as a
deep? Isn't that
student.
deep? Oh wow. Well, Nico, I was like that when I first started at Columbia too, because I went to Columbia back in '90. Matter of fact, my brother and me went together, and we were both studying dance, and we left after 2 semesters. It was terrible, but anyway, we got up out of there. Uh, uh, yeah, but it's amazing, man. Like, okay, now actually, going through here and actually teaching. I'm just so thankful for the opportunity, man, because it's almost like, man, like kind of universe placed me there. It wasn't like really, I mean, it's something that I did, but at the same time, I'm
Yeah,
just like, man, I'm just thankful for it, man. And then I just it's crazy. The first maybe 5 or 6 years there, it wasn't a thing where I mean, it was a thing where I was teaching, but man, after so long and having experience of teaching, how to touch, what I'm saying, people that are coming into your class. So after
yeah,
so long at Columbia, I know like what students need, what I'm saying, and I just like I make sure the students get it, and I get a lot from giving that to them. So I'm thankful, what I'm saying. That's been like I mean, that's been a place for me to teach, what I'm saying, where I actually get to share, what I'm saying. Yeah, it's pretty much my life. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I want to ask because I'm curious. one of the things that I'm attracted to as being a tap dancer in the style that we do is I don't have like a syllabus I have to follow.
Hmm.
I can kind of teach free, but even if you're at a studio, you kind of have to have somewhat of like a guideline. You can't just go in every week just winging it. But for
Hmm.
you teaching at a college level, what is it like? Having to have some structure to it. Is that good or bad for you?
I think it's good for me, and that well, first, I mean, I got I mean, you have structure, you know what I'm saying,
Mm,
but it's structure where you have a lot of space in between. Like it's almost like an outline. Like you put, this here, and then you put little things about that, and this here, and little things about that. So it's just like even almost like a dance. Like I know at this point in the song, I'm gonna do wings. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But you pretty much, freestyling and doing whatever. And of course, it's like the
yeah,
stage. I think most of the time, when I go in, and it's kind of crazy to say this, man. I mean, I have structure, but I don't.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like it's just like that dance, man. Like
Like
and
improvography.
like, well, yeah, those are your best performances, man. When you just go out there and you feel the crowd out, you know what I'm saying, and you figure like what this person needs, because every person in every class is different. So
Yeah,
I have my structure, but I have like a lot of room in between. You know what I'm saying? So I
yeah,
have like my writing assignments. I say, okay, well, what do they need to learn in tap? The basic exercises like, exercise with flaps and shuffles, cramp rolls, time steps, the shim sham. We've only got, like so many weeks, and then I
yeah,
say, then they got to start working on their finals. So you got to kind of give them like an overview of tap. It's not like you could
yeah,
concentrate the whole time on history. It's like you got to like hit that floor and keep on going over the same steps. They're basic steps, but when they put them together, man, those uh, students are I mean, they're so creative, man. They just put some stuff together you won't even believe, man. And they dress
yeah.
up and they like use different effects, man. You'd be like, what? I'm just saying they give
Mm,
you inspiration, so
yeah,
that's what I really try to push. I don't push like, you better get out there and drill, or you better, you got I want to hear, 16 different rhythms in that 16 count beat. I'm just saying I'm not like
mm,
really pushing, hey man, you better, you need to get up on your toes and do those pullbacks, and you know what I'm saying. I want to see a
yeah.
double wing on the right foot. You know what I'm
Right, right,
saying?
yeah, yeah,
Followed up
yeah.
by the
You're giving them a little
over a
bit of
top.
freedom.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right, right, yeah,
but I mean that's like dope, man, and I can't take nothing away from people who do that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm striving to do that. I'm never stopping. You know what I'm saying? As far as like I want to learn, I want to further my skills. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
I think that's a great thing about tattoo, where it's just like, man, people want to make you further your skills. You see them dance, you be like, man, if you got any type of, competitive nature, you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
in you, or just nature is growing anyway. If you want to grow, you're gonna like, okay, you're gonna keep up with it, and I think, uh, that's why I have grown so much in this community. It's just like kind of my nature, you know what I'm saying? It's always been like not challenging, but like, okay, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, like that ain't nothing. I mean, it's kind of tripped out now, like that ain't nothing, but you just be like, man, I could do, you pretty much know, like if I practice that, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I try to get to my students. Like, if you practice that, you practice long enough, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you could get
yeah,
good at it. And it's crazy after so many years, you could see the students come to your class and you know who's going to be good or know who's good. Yeah,
mhm,
man. Yeah, yeah. So you just like, man, I really feel at home, at Columbia, and I'm thankful, you know what I'm saying, that it's there, and actually that, they have a tap program, because it's not required. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Yeah, tap's not required there, which is kind of tripped out. But Columbia is getting better in that sense, where they're, being more inclusive of other dance forms. They have a hip
mhm.
hop major now. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I saw
So I
Brave
mean, come
Monkey.
on now, that's
Yeah,
amazing. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So yeah, and they're very, I must say Columbia has grown. Yeah, so I appreciate
Yeah.
that. The students, all that, man. It's just like, I'm 52 years old. I go in there, man, I feel like I'm 30. You know what I'm saying? It depends
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
day. Yeah. So I
yeah,
might go in there and just be like, man, I just feel like, okay, like, man, we have a good time. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, that's what my class is. We have a really good time.
yeah. No, that's super dope. Yeah, I mean, um, I want to ask, and not just because I'm curious for
Mhm.
feedback on myself, but I feel like you've told me, Bojangles, Fred Astaire, and myself, but that you throw Jimmy Slide in there sometimes and some other people, So is there anything that stuck out to you that you could remember in terms of feedback that you've gotten about any of those dancers? Including myself, like things that like really stuck out that maybe you feel like you didn't notice, or just that tripped you out a little bit.
Wow. So, first of all, when we're writing these essays, I always, talk about it before we write them. And I say that you have to know how to describe, dance, and describe feelings, So I've
Mm.
gotten so much feedback. So
Yeah,
that's the whole point of the thing. Like, okay, you can see Bojangles dance, and you gotta say, okay, you gotta talk about how he's light on his feet. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? Yeah, you gotta talk about, from anything like the creases in his pants. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it's, and then even, the time and that he was dancing. So for you, they say no.
Well, I mean, I'll
They
just say what's
say
funny to me is you telling me the first time where you were like, somebody said they didn't like it, and I had to just
it,
appreciate that as like not everyone's gonna like my style, of
it's
course.
crazy. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what, man? I find out about oh my God, we get so in detail, man, about the styles, and they say who they like and don't like. They
Yeah,
always like you because I think they identify, like, you're, like you say, you're in that range where, like, it's not so suit, tie.
yeah,
It's they can identify with it. And then a
yeah.
lot of the movements that you make, they're familiar with them. You know what I'm saying? They're
Mhm.
like right there where you almost do it's like the Charleston, something like that. It's just
Yeah.
like it's a breakdancing move, but the move's been going on. So, and I tell them that. I take them back.
Mhm.
Like, okay, that
Yeah,
move's been done since the 20s. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But
yeah,
like,
yep,
okay, but it, like, they identify with it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So yeah, man, I think that's dope, man. And it's crazy. A lot of them, man, I try to keep them motivated. So I just try to show them different dances. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
some classes, like I say, like I spoke, about Chloe Arnold. Some people will really get into her, but then sometimes they won't. And then it's like
right.
different people that they get into. It depends on like what they sing. And then we discuss it. Like we talk about, like, okay, well, why do you like this or why do you like that? And they have so much to say, man. They fed me so much over the years. Yeah, they fed me so much.
I
So
can
it's
imagine.
just not even like teaching. It's like I've learned so much. Like I'm giving my energy out to all these people, but all these people like are telling me this, boom, and that's a great part of learning, that you got all these people's mind frames and they're from different places in Chicago, in the States, and even out the country. And it's just like, it's just amazing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. So
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah,
mhm.
I mean, so you're still teaching there now, right? You're still at Columbia.
Yeah. So
You
we
said
teach
through the
over
pandemic.
Zoom. We could only have half of the people in class, and half of them are at home. And you're on Zoom, and you have this microphone, and it almost feels like that old Janet Jackson video where she's got the little microphone and you're walking around. It's kind of tripped out to me, but I'm so used to it now. Yeah, after two
Right.
semesters, and then sometime I'm like right here where I am at the beginning of the semester. I started right here, and I got a board right here, and I would talk, and then I go to the board, and we would, go back and forth and share. A lot of times, man, you learn so much more talking than you do on that floor. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So yeah, man. So I've learned a lot. Like the last two semesters has just been like amazing, and just like kind of seeing what people going through, you know what I'm saying, is, just real life stuff, man. So I've been yeah, man, I've been amazed and and thankful. Like, okay, I'm actually in this position where I can affect the future generation of not just tap dancers, but like people, humans, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah, it's quite something, man. So I don't take it for granted at all.
for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's super fresh. Well,
Mhm.
before we continue, we're gonna take a super short, just commercial break for me to plug some things. So I just put in the comment section on YouTube a link that has all of our information. We do these podcasts just for folks who aren't familiar, where we record them live on YouTube first, and then I upload the audio later. So I'm gonna share the screen so people can see. Um, so right
Okay, cool.
here, yeah, right here. This is the link. Um, and in this link we have our YouTube channel that you're probably already on. We have our merchandise, and then this is where our podcasts are that you can listen on Apple Podcasts. You can listen on Spotify. They're available everywhere. We have our website and our registration from our event. You can still take classes, but I want to just plug our merch real quick. Shameless plug. If you go in here, um, you can just scroll down and see all the classes that are available, as well as all of our merch. And you can also, up at the top, go to either just our mugs or our shirts and all of that. So we have all these different designs and things, but we just
Nice,
released these ones recently. So we have our production company logo that you could get on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. And we also have, for our podcast that we're doing right now, long sleeve shirts as well as short sleeve shirts. And all the proceeds go to supporting our free programming. All of what we're doing so far pretty much has been free. Even when we did our end of the year event, that was also, a free thing. We're very much an advocate for those who have come before us. So like with this design, our Ascended Masters design, you have all of these names of folks, that we're here to acknowledge. But then also the shirt that I'm wearing today is our Chicago Shuffle shirt, which I'm going to be updating with people like, Jimmy Payne and all of that. But it's the one I'm wearing right now that has, up top the current names, or people who are no longer with us, and then at the bottom those who are with us now. So I'm going to definitely do one that has Jimmy Payne on there, that has Idella Reed on there, and just different people who we missed on this first edition, including myself as well. So thank you to everyone for your support so far. I just wanted to, have a quick plug session, because I have not been doing really good at plugging things as I should be. Please also continue to subscribe to our channels and share our YouTube channel and all of those things. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quick.
that's cool.
Yeah. So before we get into our final segment, I have some things I want to go back to, or just touch on. So first, when we did this originally in 2019, I
Hmm.
remember right around that time, I can't remember if it's before we shot it or after, Brill was telling me about his Tap Legacy talks.
Okay.
And I was treating it just like dance, where sometimes I don't watch anything that's happening right now
Uh
because I
huh.
don't want my style to be
Is that
swayed,
deep? Oh wow,
you
Nico.
know?
Yeah, we could build on that in a few too, but that's kind of deep what you said. Go
Yeah, yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so I do that with I kind of used to do that with dance, and now these days I'm more open, of course, to seeing what's going on and what's happening. But
Uh
even
huh.
when Brill told me he was having these talks, I was like, let me not tune in so I'm swayed by that. But now, after we already did our interview and I'm just doing my journalist thing to follow up in
Hmm.
research, I'm like, let me go back and listen to that. And I think it's good now for me to look back when I'm going to interview somebody on different podcast interviews, different things that they've done, to see what they've already said, So I
Mm-hmm.
can ask questions I already know the answers to that I know would be interesting, but
Uh-huh.
also so I can, see some things that haven't been touched on. But one thing that you did touch on that I'm so curious about, I'm
Mm-hmm.
maybe gonna butcher the name, but you talked about somebody called Tapsmo.
Oh, tap smoke. Yeah. So there were a lot of different tap dances in Chicago. Um, in during the he was pretty big during the 40s and 50s, and he was, if I could describe his style, he was more of an entertainer than he was like a, just like, hitting in rhythms and beats and a tap dancer. He wasn't like
Yeah.
really on that level. He performed with a guy named man, I forgot this dude's name, but it was a piano player, George Burke. His name was it was something Burke. Yeah, yeah. But and his name was, what is Tapsmo's name? Oh wow, Archie Taylor. Yeah, Archie Taylor. That's Tasimo's
Mm-hmm.
name, and and his partner was like George Bird or something like that. But I think his partner. I hope Tassimo is still alive. I haven't talked to him in probably like 3 years, which is terrible. And I've been calling him, and the phone's off. And Reggie's been calling him. We both
Mm,
called him, and Reggie and me, we always talk about him. We
yeah.
we kind of trip on his voice and the stuff he used to say. Yeah,
Mm,
so Tassimo, he's definitely a character, but he was big in Chicago and he did his thing as far as the Saber Room, uh Club de Lisa. He was really big and he was real close to my dad. Then he used to come over like in the 90s. And
mm,
yeah, he's come over in the 90s. He's come over in the 90s and like talk a lot of shit to my dad. He just sit up there
mm,
and just talk. He was crazy. I
yeah.
mean, but he was cool. He was a family friend. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I couldn't tell you much about him as far as I know he performed on the boats. Yeah,
Mm,
like he did like, entertainment where he did like really big stuff. He was a great entertainer, in that way, and he did splits, things like that.
mm.
But he wasn't he really kind of put me up on that other man. Wow. Uh, I can't remember it now, so I won't even go there. I forgot the guy's
Yeah.
name uh, in Chicago, but anyway, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he wasn't. I don't know much about him, but I know. I mean, we were pretty close. But we called each other like, and we talked about what's going on in Tap now, and up until about three
Right.
years ago. And I think he was sick, and he didn't want to let me know, so he kind of just
Yeah.
like he faded off and I call him,
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? And it just goes to, he lived in Beverly, and I got his address
mm,
around here and I thought about going over there, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not sure what happened to him. But Archie Taylor was a
yeah.
tap dancer, or is a tap dancer from Chicago. And he did the stair dance. He still had the stairs. And he always
Mm,
he bragged about he had these stairs and he would never he would never show you the stair dance or whatever. That was like his thing. Like he had these stairs and he
mm,
was still practicing and he was waiting. He's always telling me that the big bands are still coming out. You know what I'm saying? Like what he's
mm.
gonna do. And he had to be like 73 or something like that, man. But it's yeah, man. That was Archie Taylor. Yeah, that's Tapsmo. Mm-hmm.
Do you know how he spelled Tapsmo?
Matter of fact, he got that name. What is it? Copyrighted or trademark, and he always talked
Oh
about
wow.
that. In case anybody try to use my name, I got a trademark. Yeah, it's
That's
TAP.
brilliant.
Yeah, Taps. Yeah, I think TAPSMO. Yeah, and he
Like
yeah,
one word.
yeah, 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 and it could be
Mm.
two. I don't know. Yeah, I've never seen it like written out where like yeah, but he that was his thing. Like couldn't nobody use his name.
Do you know if there's any footage of him or anything like that?
I kind of doubt it because he probably would have showed me. Yeah, and
Hmm.
like I say, I don't think he was. I think even like back in the day, man, it was just like so many people. I mean, entertainment was like a thing where you could like walk into a lounge and you could see, entertainment. So he was entertaining in quite a few places. So it wasn't like he
Right.
was huge, but he was I mean, he was big on the Chicago tap scene, and he was real. He told me a lot of stuff about my dad, and he used to go down to the Fine Arts Building and kick it with my dad a lot. He told me a lot of stuff about the Step Brothers, the four Step Brothers. He knew them like really good. Uh, man, it's another guy, man. He knew, man, that was really good from Chicago. Man, I forgot his name. I'm still trying to go back to that, but he knew a lot about Chicago tap. Yeah, he knew a
Yeah.
lot about Chicago, and he used to kind of give me advice, like, okay, well, you should do this, you should do that, or whatever, But he was kind of, his approach was like a little bit different than mine. He was just like more like a showy type person. Like, you need to throw some splits in there. Or, you need to do wings, and I mean that's how his mind went. Like, I mean, he's just like kind of way out there. But I mean, as far as like the footwork, he was. I mean, from what I heard and from what I saw, he was like okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, yeah. I mean, to some people this might seem kind of random, but for us tap nerds like myself, I'm constantly trying to brush up on who's who, because as much as you might feel like there's always somebody else, pre-video,
Isn't
before
that deep,
now.
man? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, before now, when we have everything, we have a camera in our pocket at all times. But but that actually reminds me, so for those who might be interested, like, as far as there's only one clip of your pops that you know of.
So man, it was a clip that was really nice, and I don't think I have it. I have a couple of VHS tapes that I have to look at. But then there's another one of Changing Times, and what was it called, Nico? You know the name of it? What was it called with Diane Walker? Who else was in that?
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, the Shoot Me While I'm Happy
Yeah, Shoot Me While
show.
I'm Happy. Yeah, Shoot Me While
Yeah.
I'm happy. And Reggie showed me that the whole tape. It was VHS when he showed me. Oh my
Yeah.
God, the routines in that are just so cold. When you look at Cookie Cook, like a lot of people don't talk about Charles Cookie Cook, but man, that dude was brilliant in his tap.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, just like amazing. My dad did a piece in that Begin and Begin, and that was a good piece also. He did that routine and he gave it to several students. It was good. Uh,
Yeah.
let me see. Let me see who else was in that. There's a few people in that, but I haven't seen the tape for so long.
Oh yeah,
Jane
yeah.
Goldberg, of course, she
Brownie.
does it.
Yeah,
She,
Jane Goldberg's
yes,
thing.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm maybe speaking too soon, but I'm gonna, I think, acquire that footage soon.
Wow,
So
wow.
I'll definitely share when I do, because I'm hyped. Me over here, I finally started converting all my
Wow,
tapes.
see, Nico, yeah. And it's crazy
you know,
because I have several of those tapes and I don't even have them labeled. And matter of fact, I was just
right.
looking at something. It was Homer's recital, and I think it's from '96, and it's we danced off Everything Is Everything, Lauryn Hill, and we do solos at the end, and Jamani goes last, and I go second before last. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but of course Jamani was so dope then I had to let him go last. I'm like, you close it out.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's like
hey,
that sometimes.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah, you just gotta give it, to where it's due, man. So yeah, man, that's that was I need to, go back into I got a lot of tapes, man, but I gotta,
Yeah.
get them and put them out there, man.
And
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing. Just like you said, there are tapes like this one where it don't say
Wow.
nothing
Thank
on
you.
it,
Hey,
and
hey,
then there are
did.
these ones that have some writing. So
Thank you. Yeah. No, that's so
people
cool.
these from all the events I'm doing, from like the footage nights to these podcasts, and like digging up all this history. Some people are trying to, I don't want to say trying, and I don't want to sound like I'm denying anything necessarily, but people are starting to call me a historian, which holds a lot of weight. So I'm just saying, like,
Hey,
I'm an archaeologist. I'm just
yeah.
digging things up, like a historian, you got to really get your dates in line. So, that's just
Right.
what's so dope about what we're doing here, is this is helping me to kind of keep track of things. And, I think I'm also maybe speaking too soon, but I'm trying to take a chronological order of Chicago history so we can have like a map to see what was happening at the same time, what happened, before this and after that.
Wow.
Because our oral history, is has been something that we've kept in that tradition, but it'd be nice to document some things.
Most definitely. Well, sometime I think, man, speaking of oral history and thinking about, Chicago, you think of, dancers that were here before us, and you think, I think, Jimmy Payne, of course, Tommy Sutton, which we haven't mentioned, and what is the other one?
Sammy Dyer.
Sammy Dyer. Thank you. So you
Yeah.
think about those three, what I'm saying, that like really put it down for Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean that's amazing. Chicago, and it was so many more people. It was so many
Yeah,
more
yeah, and
people
of
and
course
dope
going back to
tap
the Bruce.
dancers.
Yeah, of course going back to the Bruce sisters. Sadie Bruce,
Thank
and
you,
then
thank you, thank you.
her
Yeah.
sister opened a studio too, and then. But the thing that's interesting is like Buddy Bradley. Did he have a connection to Chicago,
I'm
or
not
he?
sure, and I don't think he had a really big connection to Chicago.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and I'm not sure when he even actually went to New York. I know he
Mm,
came back not to New York, but when he went to Europe, what I'm saying. But and I've even looked for like some of his routines, and I could only find one, and I think it was a movie called Evergreen. I think it was called a movie called
mm.
Evergreen, and I looked up the dance scene for Evergreen that Buddy Bradley did, and I forgot, what I thought of it or whatever. But there's not much video footage of him, but I have pictures of him. Yeah, while he's in motion, what I'm saying, which is pretty dope. You know what I'm saying, and of course, I mean, he had such a great following. You know what I'm saying, but of course, you would never hear of him. Tap dancers don't hear Buddy Bradley. Yeah, tap dancers don't
Exactly.
hear Buddy Bradley. You know what I'm saying? But he was so important in tap dancing's development. You know, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, whether it's Chicago's history or otherwise, by way of other people, I'm just focusing on Chicago right now. But I have been trying to, since I've been doing all this stuff, trying to really keep track and like, build a little bit of a, like I said, a map from over the years. I've seen a few people have had different just tap in general like timelines from over time, and history
Wow.
gets tricky. Like sometimes I feel like intimidated, like I don't want to touch it
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
this could be off, or somebody could, because it's an oral history, everything could be debated.
But it's way out, man. The more you get into it, man, and put your part out there, of course, everybody matches it up, and I mean, it gets straightened out. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's intimidating, but at the same time, it's like we actually need it, especially times like right now. You know what I'm saying? We like actually need that. Yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah,
good
yeah.
for us.
So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of putting it out there also because I feel like I hate to say this because nobody wants to hear somebody say this, but I feel like I constantly have ideas for things, and then I
Mhm.
sit on them so long that somebody swoops in, and it's not even
It,
about me getting the credit for it, but still like,
No,
you
but that's
know,
way out, man. It's crazy. It almost feels like a missed opportunity. Like, damn, what I'm saying? I should have moved on there. Yeah, and I think we all go through that, but it's cool. I like what you said. I think that was yesterday on your Facebook post, and
mm,
you were speaking in reference to sitting on an idea and talking about other people's ideas instead of going for your own. You know what I'm
yeah, yeah,
saying? Which is just like you really gotta push, like what you believe in and what you want to do like out there. Yeah, because I'm
yeah,
talking about, man, please, man, it's so much it's so much out here now. It's not even it's always been so much out here, but now it's so much for people to see, through, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. It's just like constantly ideas
yeah.
are going back and forth, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
it's it's
Yeah,
way out,
yeah,
man. A little
yeah,
hard
yeah.
to keep up.
Exactly. It's so much content now. And again, like I was saying, I'm not just saying that for like credit purposes, but also to keep myself accountable so I could
Mm-hmm.
say it out loud, beyond just to myself and the people I've talked to about it. But yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
quote that I put up yesterday, I saw on Star's story. It says it's better to create something that others criticize than to create nothing and criticize others.
And
And
that
then I
deep,
went on
yeah,
to yeah, I went on to
yeah.
say, the work that I've been doing in the past few years, I've been really trying to think about that quote before I ever saw it, where
Mm-hmm.
I just found myself in a time where I was waiting for opportunities to come up, or I was waiting for funding,
Wow,
because
wow,
I've been sitting on a lot of the stuff I'm doing now. I've been sitting on these ideas and concepts for years now,
wow,
but I
wow.
just now I'm feeling like I'd rather stop waiting and, kind of either criticizing or just watching, even just watching what everyone else is doing, and
Mm-hmm.
start just making it happen. Because nowadays you might not need, just like for musicians, if you have enough equipment, you could have
Mm-hmm.
a basic laptop and make a whole album. So
Mm-hmm.
like just what I'm doing right now, it takes money to do this, and it takes time, which is money.
Yes,
But I'm just
yes.
pushing myself forward to be able to contribute in the way that tap has contributed to me. Me
Thank you,
knowing what
thank
I
you.
know is something somebody had to put me on, and somebody had to document things, or speak on things. So
Mm-hmm.
just that's a part of all the intentions behind all of this stuff. But just like I said, we could be talking all day long, but this is just part 1.5. So
No, that's all good. I'm serious. Yeah, it's so much more to be said, man. You know what I'm saying? And I really do appreciate what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And the person you've been, throughout. Yeah, since you like really start, like, okay. I mean, people know you, people feel you. You have very distinctive style. You know what I'm saying? And you're a very good person. You know what I'm saying? So I just
I
like, man,
appreciate
take
it.
my hat off to you, man, and just be like, man, keep on moving. You know what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and right
yeah,
right back to you. Like we
yeah.
connected back in those Columbia days, I think for a reason. So I'm appreciative for our relationship and that we got to do this. But there is one more segment before we wrap it up.
Mhm.
So we call this the Tap Nerd segment, where I just ask some questions to better get to know you. This started as something where I was like, all right, folks got to answer the questions in 2 minutes, but
Mhm.
they're too difficult of questions, so
Uh-huh.
no rush. But I'm gonna just give a disclaimer at the beginning,
Mhm.
like I'm gonna do now. I feel like before each question, is my impulse to be like, "This is a hard question here," but just
Uh-huh.
know they're all kind of difficult and
Mhm.
kind of subjective, but to get to know
Mhm.
you. So the
Mhm.
first question is, knowing that this can change at any time, who would you say are your top five favorite tap dancers who are no longer with us?
Who are no longer with us? I would say Honey Coles. I would say Jimmy Sly. I would say Baby Lawrence. I would say Gregory Hines. And who else would I say? This I would have to put Fred Astaire in there. Yeah, I had to put Fred Astaire in
Mm,
there, man, because I grew up on him. I mean, I love Fred Astaire. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, those are some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was quick. That was easy. Um, so this is the one that people try to want to avoid sometimes because it could be controversial to pick. But
Mm-hmm.
who would you say are your five favorite tap dancers of the moment, of folks who are still with us
It's probably
now?
still pretty easy. I would
Yeah,
say number one, I would say Jason Samuel Smith.
yeah.
I would say Star Dixon.
Mm.
I would say Jamani Taylor. I would say Anthony. How do you pronounce his name?
More
Moderato.
Dorado.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yep.
I would say him most definitely, and I would say I would most definitely have to say Savion Glover. I could never even skip that man. But I mean, just what he does on the floor and what he's done for tap. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, 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 most
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah. No, that's pretty solid.
yeah,
And is
yeah.
it's dope to hear Anthony in these lists because that man
Mhm.
is wild. You know, I met him a few years ago, and yeah, he's wild with it.
It's crazy for me. Well, he almost came out of nowhere. I'm just like, man, I just like in the last 2 years, I'm just like, man, looking at this dude, like, damn. I mean, it's just like, I mean, amazing, like what he's doing. I mean,
Yeah,
I gotta give it to him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it's crazy because I know it's a lot of people who have that technique. As far as the technique is just like way out there now. Like what people are doing is amazing, but then you like put that rhythm with the technique. You know, you put the feel with the technique, man. And it's just like, man. I mean, how he moves in and out of songs and
different
steps.
pockets.
I mean, it's just like
Yeah,
amazing, man. You know, but of course, I mean, I say at the top is Jason Samuels, like that technique and just like, I mean, just like, and then could go on for days with different combinations. That's always been amazing to me. Like people that not just like have one step and just drill on the same step, but just like it take you there through different
right.
beats and rhythms. That's just like amazing to me. So yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
So I try not to butt in during this section, but I do want to say for any dancers out there listening, like
yeah.
I think it's very important to be able to find that balance between okay, you got the technique and that's cool, but what we do is very musical and rhythmic. So uh, we have great examples like Jimmy Slides who were able to put the musical side and the dance side and
Mm-hmm,
merge them
mm-hmm,
together. So
mm-hmm,
that's a
mm-hmm.
good thing to strive for. So our next question would be if you can spend a whole day with any tap dancer who's with us or who's passed on, dancing, talking, performing, choreographing, just hanging out, who would you choose?
You know who was so interesting to me, man, that I like almost feel like I understood, man, was Chuck Green. A little tripped out, man, but he seemed like he would almost not even almost, but in a different time, he would make a good teacher. He could just like kind of I mean, that dude was like kind of introspective and like he felt stuff and he could I mean, he just like went inside, man. I like him, like I mean, as a person and his story.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I would say Chuck Green. Yeah, I would say Chuck Green, man. You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure.
Yeah, yeah, I could feel him. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, man, like that, and then he's funny as hell too. Just like shit he would say, I would be laughing and be like, okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
he's a trip for sure, and
yeah.
he's one of my favorites as well. And for
Mm-hmm,
anybody interested, look up Chuck Green. They're both spelled how you would think they're spelled, both
mm-hmm.
names. Him and About Tap, you can catch him talking and dropping some wisdom. So that's somewhere you all could check into. But that's a great answer, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So now kind of off tap kind of for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
who would you say is a musician that you've danced to like a lot, like somebody you find yourself either improvising or choreographing to?
Wow, and it's so many people. Uh,
You could share multiples if you want.
yeah, well, Uh, let me see. Well, my first jazz artist that I really appreciated, man, was Eddie Harris, and
Mm,
then Oscar Peterson. Uh,
mm,
uh, Artists that I got up on recently, maybe in about the last 8 years. Uh, uh, man, I'm sorry. This
are you
is
good?
Chucho Valdez. Hey, have you seen this dude play? Man,
Mm,
I'm talking about this dude ain't no joke. Chucho
yeah.
Valdez. And
Oh,
his
okay.
his Chucho Valdez. And
Oh, okay.
his dad was a pianist too. He's a piano player from Cuba. But I heard he
Mm,
was coming to Chicago and I went and caught him
mm.
at the Green Mill. In person is just
Oh,
way
yeah.
out, man. Yeah, I'm talking
Yeah.
about just if you listen to him, man, and you see like, oh my God, Oscar Peterson's amazing, but this dude is just like, I'm just saying to blow your mind. Uh, who else, man? I listen to a lot of Ahmad Jamal. uh, it's different artists, man. I got a playlist and I just like, I mean, I just tap to it. I just like, it's so many different artists, but I would say those are like the top main four, you know what I'm saying, that I would
Yeah.
like really, that I really do appreciate like the music, but it's so many artists. It's the artist I'm listening to now, and it's an African artist. I couldn't even pronounce his name. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm.
have to look it up, but man, I'm talking about this, the what he's playing, man. It's crazy now after listening to so much music, I I sometimes go back, man, and I it's not like too much that moves me. You know what I'm saying? I have to like
Mm.
find like different new artists, man. Like I search, like, and then like an
Yeah.
artist that move me to like actually tap, man. So there's so many
Yeah.
artists out there. Yeah, you know that. Yeah, it's yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually like hit your soul. Like some, you know, sometimes I mean, I listen to all Oscar Peterson stuff, so it's just like okay, you know, now I'm on to something else. But you know, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm,
fresh. That's fresh.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, so this next answer might be somebody you just mentioned, but if you
mm-hmm.
could collaborate with anybody, who's with us or not, any musical artist, dancing, whether it's for a performance or just to jam, who would you choose? And
Who
this
would
one
I?
I'm gonna make tough and just say if you had to choose one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's deep. Okay, so man, whoa, that would be really hard, man. I would probably say Chucho Valdez, man, on that one. Yeah,
Mm,
man.
mm,
Just the way, like, I mean, he goes from here or there. I can like really feel it, and I think it's like kind of a thing in me where I love that type of music, man. Like, that comes from Cuba. You know what I'm saying, or the West Indies, man. Like so many beats, you know what I'm saying, that take you different places, man. So I would probably say Chucho Valdez, man. I'll probably say Chucho Valdez. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and that makes sense, being
Mm-hmm.
that your pops wasn't just a dancer, but he played drums and all of that
Yep.
as well.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Which is something that we didn't get into a whole lot, but I think that's good. So we have something to talk about next time. A
That's
little bit
cool.
more.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So, shoot, sorry, I'm looking for the next one. Um, okay, yeah. So back kind of on the tap tip, a little more heavy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where would you say is your favorite place to dance or that you have danced, whether it's just shedding or performing or teaching, choreographing in the city, in the country, in the world?
I think, my most uh I danced with this group, 21st Century Jazz Review. And I
Mm,
danced with them through like 97 until like 2002 or three. And we took a trip. We used to do gigs every week. We were always busy, and it was it wasn't a big band, but maybe there were like 7 or 8 members. It was nice, two singers, uh, real nice gigs. But we went to India. Yeah, we went to Mumbai
mm,
and we went to Delhi, India. And that was man, that group was just so dope. Yeah, that would have to be my like favorite group that I danced with.
mm,
The best venues. I
yeah.
think that trip was amazing. Uh, the crazy thing about that trip, I when I got there and got off the plane, I realized that they cut my bag and took my tap shoes. They stole my tap shoes and out the bag. So
What?
yeah, I had to, we were in a hotel in Oberoi Hotel in Mumbai, India, and we had to figure out basically how I was going to get some tap shoes. And they were like, okay, there's no tap places around here, whatever, blah blah. And I'm like, y'all, I'm heading out. You know what I'm saying? So they like, hey, this is Nico, for real. I'm in Mumbai,
Wow.
India. They say,
Yeah.
hey, don't go out. Don't go out. It's crazy. You don't want to be walking the streets, blah blah. So
Mm,
basically, I'm like, hey man, I'm up. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay. And it wasn't like wasn't like, the phones. It was just like a little phone. I think I had my little phone on. I don't think we could call there. I'm not even sure. I forgot. But anyway,
Mm.
man, I go out, I'm going the streets. I'm walking down the streets of Mumbai. I'm talking about like the, hood. I remember this guy coming up to me. He's with a monkey, and he's like, monkey dance, Michael Jackson. And the monkey had a sorely pamper on, and he looked like he had rabies. He was gonna bite me. And then of course the guy,
Damn.
I was like, okay, yeah, I want to see the monkey dance. I'm just looking for some, tap shoes. So I went and bought some shoes, and I walked to this place. It was like a newspaper stand, and this guy,
Mm.
man, I don't know where he got these taps from. They weren't real taps, but he got these metal things and put on my shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And actually put them on my shoes. And I wish I still had those shoes. I put them like a little casing, and put them up. But yeah, man, it was that, and we got through the performances. Yeah, but that was like the dopest group that I played with, man. Rich Fadoli, he was in that, man.
Mhm.
So many great people were in that, man. I'm gonna look up that group and tell you the names, man. But I'm talking about that was the best time that I had actually dancing, where it felt like, okay, this family is, moving along and doing that thing, man. Yeah,
Wow.
man. So that would yeah, that would probably be, man, the gigs that we did, like actually with them, and there were several, you know what I'm saying,
Mm.
but they were the most memorable, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, I just have a few more questions.
Hmm.
So the next one is there a, if not a favorite, like a go-to clip that you find yourself watching a lot, a piece of footage, if it's like a singular clip, a documentary, a whole show, a film or something?
Yeah, so it's a clip that I watched with uh really just like, man, like really is way out, man. Jason Samuels, Smith, and I think it's Joseph Wiggins, somebody like on there, but they're like battling. They're going back on the stage. They're somewhere like in Europe or whatever, and they're just like
Mhm.
killing it. And you think like they're not going to run out of steps, but they come back and forth, and you just be like, damn. I mean, like, okay, man, it's just like you just like, whoa, this is like too much. But you gotta
Yeah.
watch it again because you be like, man, I gotta do this. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's a
Yeah.
clip that I always watch. Uh yeah, man, it's just like I mean, it's just like mind blowing for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's mind blowing for me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I ask all these questions to everyone, but this
Hmm.
reminds me of, like, again, when I was at Columbia, just to expand for a moment, me and
Hmm.
Jimmy were hanging out not because I was studying dance. That was not my major. I was majoring
Hmm.
in performing arts management, and just because I was a dancer, I'd go to the dance center every now and then and hang out. And I'd kind of be able to see the schedule and see Jimmy, be done with class. So I'd go over and we just, rap for a minute, and we talk about clips and different things. So, um, I remember and dig you mentioning Jay Sam, because I feel like that was maybe in that time too when I was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
really,
yeah.
I
Well,
was
it was just
really
like
into
kind of
style.
almost like a wake up, not a wake up call, but like, damn, man. I mean, they're good.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I'm
yeah.
like, man, this dude is like amazing, man. So I had actually, uh, I the first time I saw him in person, well, I saw him here through a show we did at the Bidum, and of course
Mm.
that was CHRP, but I in Maui, the Maui Tap Festival,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, he did two numbers, and they were two totally different numbers and different steps, and I'm just saying, like, you just like, man, so sometimes, man, you see dances, you be like, man, I got a long way to go.
Man. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
you see dances, and the thing that sticks out to me, like with dances, is it's not even like how fast they do it, or how technically difficult it is. It's that vocabulary. So when they know how to, they have a vocabulary and they know how to express it and put it, in there, man. you know, in the music, you just be like, man, that's what excites me. That's just like amazing. You know what I'm saying? That like actually moves me. You know what I'm saying? So and it's not I mean, it's not like, you know, jacking them or none, but it's like, man, damn, you know what I'm saying? There's some amazing people out here, you know what I'm saying, that you just gotta be like, man, you know, and it's always somebody like that. It's always somebody, you know, that's you know, better. You know, and I mean,
Yeah,
it's not better, can nobody be a better you, but I mean, overall, you just gotta say, hey, there's
yeah,
somebody better, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
yeah,
So, you know, I just get amazed at like different, and not only him, like I mean, of course, different people like you, different people like Jemani. You know what I'm saying? Different
mm,
people like Star. You know what I'm saying? Like you see these people who have these technical skills, and then they have this musicality, and then they just like it. I mean, change up and go back and forth, and it's just like, man, it moves you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So that's what I like get a thrill out of it, and you know, I'm a tap. I'm a big tap fan too. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like a person where like you know, it's just like so many people. I could we need to start having like some cards, like almost baseball cards, and like with different
mm,
tattoos.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
real. That's real.
yeah,
That would be
yeah,
fresh.
man.
You
Because
know.
yeah, it's some amazing people out there, and these are like great people, man, and they take it on such a I mean, like, man, tap dance, man, is just like I mean, like, yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to do it, man? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
People definitely see it and want to,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
man, you know, that baseball cards thing, like I feel like I'm for years I've had different concepts for different kind of merch and all that.
Mm,
And even doing this first Chicago Shuffles tee with all these names on it was stressful because I'm like,
wow,
I'm
wow,
not gonna be
wow.
able to put everyone on it, you know, like
But no, but
and
that's so
but
dope. It's so many different people, man. That's what I'm saying. There's
yeah,
so many different people that we don't even know of, man. Yeah,
right.
man,
Yeah,
that we don't
Tapsmo,
even know of.
I just found out about Tapsmo, so you know,
Wow.
like
Yeah.
that
Well.
that's
Yeah.
dope.
And it's. Man, I wish I could think of the name of the other dancer. And Reggie would know, right? Reggie would know right offhand if I said, "Okay, this person, that person." He'd be like, "Okay, you know,
Yeah.
yeah." But suppose this guy jump up in the air and click his heels 3 times, and and I forgot what book, but Gregory Hines referenced him, and he talks about him, man. But this dude was like, man, he was like a real huffer. My dad told me about him too. You know what I'm saying? But kind of, you know, not really in the limelight. He right limelight. He just like off to himself. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's
Yeah,
dope,
yeah.
man. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm an advocate for the underdog, so we're gonna find that out, you
Oh,
know,
most
soon, I'm
definitely. Oh,
sure.
I'll probably know like 10 minutes after we're done, man. It's crazy. I just
Exactly,
had all this
exactly.
written
Yeah.
down. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I mean, this is somewhat easy for me. I just get, you know, ask the questions. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so we have just two more of this segment before we wrap it up. So the
Mm-hmm.
next question is there a piece of advice or wisdom that an elder tap dancer has shared with you that has stuck with you?
Wow. I can't say a specific piece or advice, but you know who I got so much out of, man? Levon Robinson. Yeah, out of
Mm,
Philadelphia. Yeah, so
yeah.
uh I went to Philly, New York. That's where I was on the East Coast. And in New York, I interviewed Ludi Jones and a couple of
Mm,
dancers. These were African dancers, you know, and it was about the story about my dad. And so I went back to Philly and interviewed Levon Robinson. Man, just
wow.
like a whole day of like dropping it on me. Like
Wow.
uh just like a real dude, man. I can't remember one specific thing, but he had a great impact in my life. And he was out of all the people I interviewed, he was the person that really reminded me of my dad the most. Just like a
Mhm.
real humble person, you know what I'm saying? Uh, and like just like dropped it on me. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, we talked about like regular stuff, but it wasn't things like and I wasn't taking note then, but I was like really feeling them. So I really can't say it's not a specific thing, but I could say he was a yeah, real dude, man. Yeah, real dude, man. And he had a lot to say even about, you know, tap today and the tap festivals. And I could say, you know, some stuff he said, but it's just like, man, he's a real dude. I can't go there, you know what I'm saying? But man, he's a real dude, man. He's just like a real person, man, that I appreciated, like his presence, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
even like just talking to me. I spent like a couple of days with him, just like, but he was just, man, so real, man. So he gave me a lot of advice, but it's yeah, it's all good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
mean, it doesn't have to be a specific thing. And,
Mm-hmm,
sometimes I send these questions ahead of time, sometimes I don't. So, we're
mm-hmm,
just putting you full on the spot right now.
mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, Levon, that's a dope one. For one of my footage nights we did, they often have a theme. And so the theme of one of them was ladies' night. And so
Mm-hmm.
we on the second half, we watched Plenty of Good Women Dancers, that whole documentary that
Okay,
focuses a lot on Philly, and Levon is in there, and
okay.
it talks about that close to the floor style, that
Wow,
close
wow,
footwork style. So
wow,
yeah,
wow. That's cool,
yeah,
man.
no,
That's cool.
I could really dig him. So the last question is maybe kind of heavy. So you know when everything's said and done, and you're no longer with us, what would you like people to remember you for, as a tap dancer or a person? Remember about you, or remember you for?
Well, like I said, so I'm 52. You know, I made 52 last year. You know, and like the biggest thing, man, I think about now, you know, are my my daughters, as far as I like really don't trip on how people will remember me, because after a while there'll be an afterthought too. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like like okay, like,
Mm,
if you remember me in some way, I'm just saying now there's people who have to
yeah,
remember you. I'm just saying it's not like, people gonna remember you, whatever. I'm just saying like what I want to do. I want to man, I just I want to push myself, man, and push others, man, to like, man, search for like, man, true happiness, man. It could be like through a conversation, it could be through a laugh, man. It could be through tap, you know what I'm saying? It could be through like anything, because I realize that people are not going to remember me from like, okay, man, he showed me that step and blah, blah, or he, he did this, he did that for me, man. It's just like about, the moment. I'm not like really, I can't really trip on that. I know what you're saying.
yeah,
Like, okay, like, how you remember me. But if you trip on that, man, you just gonna be like, I'm just saying, I'm living for the way people are gonna remember me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. I'm just like kind of living for the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, right now in my life, I'm raising three daughters, so I'm like,
Yeah,
don't like really, nothing like too much matter to me than like that. I mean, it's just like, I mean, not like, okay, whatever, everything else is, but I'm just like, man, please, man, if they could put it out there. And I think my dad was the same way. Like he was,
mm,
famous and this and that, but man, when it came down to it, it was about his kids. You know what I'm saying? About his
right.
kids, man, about his family, about his wife, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, man, no matter even how people remember my dad, man, I'm just saying, like, his kids are still here, man. Like we still going. I'm not, people got crazy remembrances of you, or like, Jimmy he was kind of, strange. I'm just saying people
Yeah,
can say all kind of stuff, but like, man, I don't even care how you remember me, man. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
I like really don't, it would kind of trip me out. My kids remember me a certain way, but I'm just saying, it's like, man, yeah, at the end of the day, I want to be in touch with myself, man, and have that, we talked about character, I want to
yeah,
have that character where it's just like, don't nothing else move you, but like the right thing for you. And it's usually the right thing for the people around you. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So, I mean, I really don't care how people remember me. I mean, like, I'm just saying, please remember me greatly. I'm just saying, if I have been great, inspiration or whatever in your life, but that really
Mhm.
doesn't matter at the end of the day. There are billions and billions of people who pass this earth. I'm just like a
Yeah.
little, like small little part of it, man. I really don't give a care like how you remember me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
Survive.
I think that's one of the funniest answers I've gotten, but it's real, and how you feel is how you feel. So, but
Yeah, man.
also I still, I feel like you're what might feel like a small contribution or a small nugget in this
Oh, most
big
definitely.
world,
But that's
you
that's
know.
the whole thing about it, man. When you're not thinking about it, it's just like when you on stage, you're thinking about entertaining the people, man. You kind
Hmm.
of messed up already. When you're thinking about getting into yourself, then the people are gonna enjoy it and love it. I'm just saying, like my mind's not gonna be on how you gonna remember me. It's gonna be on like if I get into myself, I know you're gonna get something from it. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like I have to get into myself, what I'm saying? I have to be like real about my situation. And I'm just saying that's what I have to do. Yeah, I'm not.
yeah,
I can't like really trip on how you're gonna remember me. It's important, but I promise you, it's not that important. I'm talking about like
yeah,
right now is important. Like what we
yeah,
doing. Like even like me and you, that's important. Like right now,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
I'm just saying, like man, it's all good. Not to be way out there, but man,
No, 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 and I feel you,
yeah.
and that's real, because
Mhm.
sometimes it, especially in this day and age, it's not just a generational thing. It's just like where we are as a people, we're thinking so much ahead to things,
Thank you.
and
We're thinking about the
sometimes we have to.
recording of shit, you know what I'm saying? Instead of like right now, like, how's this gonna look to that person?
Right.
And people are on that like way out, man. It's crazy. I got to get much better with my social media, man, but I almost like kind of reject that. I didn't get on till late, but I'm like, man, it just like, it's just about like right now and just like real stuff, man. So I'm
Right.
like, man, I don't know. I mean, I care, but I care a lot, what I'm saying, how people remember me, perceive me, what I'm saying. The only way I care about people, that the people that need to remember me good is my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's so they could go on and say, hey, my dad was great. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
other than that, man, I don't care what you remember. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you say after I'm gone. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I know what was real, like right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I really do know what was real. So that doesn't even phase me or trip me out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's some real talk. So on that note, thank you so much for joining us today, and I think it was really informative, and it was fun for me. I hope
Yeah.
those tuning in
Man,
live right now, enjoyed it.
Man, it was
Yeah,
fun for me, Nico. I really, when I got on a day, I'm just like, man, the last 3 hours before I got on, I'm like, okay, damn, you know what I'm saying? But this is just you have a great platform, you know what I'm saying? And you have an amazing name and people follow you. And man, you're an amazing person, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're an amazing
yeah,
person and an amazing tap dancer. So I'm just
yeah,
like, man, I take my hat off to you. And I'm so glad that you say, I mean, you chose me to be on your program and actually, for the first interview, you know what I'm saying? And then, right now too. So I'm just like, man, I'm very humble, you know what I'm saying, to be right here today. So I don't usually like trip out on stuff, but I kind of tripped today, like, damn, okay. Like, man, I got this interview today.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when I got
Yeah, no,
when I first got on, I called you Nikio. I was like, I said, but I just said, yeah,
hey man,
but
it happens. Yeah,
yeah, but no, but it's just like, man, this is like amazing, man. That you great, you have an amazing reputation, man, and a great platform, man. And I appreciate you. That's
yeah,
it.
man. Love and
Yeah,
respect right back to you. So,
yeah,
everyone at home, give it up to Mr. Jimmy Payne Jr. And, we just to say we've been doing this every week for this past month, but I don't know that we're going to be doing that moving forward. So just stay tuned, stay locked in, and remember to subscribe and like and share and all of that. So, you all have a great day. Thanks again, Jimmy Payne. And this was the Real Talk Tap Talks. We'll catch you all next time.
yeah. Thank you, Nico.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.